The only poll that matters is the one that happens on election day. Yes, today is the D-Day. It is the 27th of November. That means all Namibians who are eligible to vote can go and make the decisions that aligns with their values. So we have been bringing you Election Watch from 8:30 and encountered some technical difficulties, but we are back like we've never left. Now I am joined by Joe Murray and I am Aina, and we are going to take you through the rest of the discussions. If, however, you've missed any of our discussions and you now want to catch up on what we were talking about earlier, you can simply follow us on our social media pages. That is at Network Media Hub, and then you can watch Election Watch live with Matthias and Ashwin Berry, as well as Toivo Njobela. Joe Murray.
Hi, Aina, how are you feeling on this day?
I am fantastic. How are you feeling?
Very, very excited. The material that we're getting from our guys in the field show that Namibians have come out in great numbers.
Yes.
Obviously, there is so much anticipation and expectations from this election.
Arguably, I think this is the most fun and exciting election ever that I have experienced. This morning when I was coming to work, I saw a long queue, and that was between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. right about there, and people are excited. People have their chairs outside. It just shows that people are really taking an interest in politics, which potentially could shape all our lives, and I think that's very exciting.
It most certainly will shape the future of this country. Analysts not only in Namibia but abroad saying that this is probably the most significant election that we've had in decades.
Yeah.
Because you have a new, very strong party featuring in the National Assembly elections. So yes, we're going to have fun and games over the next few days.
There are new parties. There's a female presidential candidate, something that has never been done in Namibia. So I think that's a new dawn for Namibian politics at large. Let's talk about things that you are passionate about, the economy. Let's start there by unemployment. Give us an overview of the current state of affairs right now in this country.
Yes, before I go to, we've got some nice graphics for you too, but unemployment, definitely one of the very significant factors that will be looked at. As we've seen with elections in Africa, but also internationally, people this time around, they're voting with their pockets. There's high levels of poverty, there are massive unemployment, and rather than being impressed by nice words and policies, people want to know, how are you going to make my life better? But let's take a look at the unemployment situation in the country at the moment. Now we know that the census which came out a couple of weeks ago, the latest census, it does not specify an unemployment rate in Namibia, which has a lot of people very upset because they want to know what the figure is, and the fact that the Statistics Agency didn't release it fueled speculation that we indeed have very, very high unemployment figures. Now, the latest estimate we've got is by Afrobarometer, and it shows an unemployment figure of about 43%. So there you can see how it has absolutely escalated over the past couple of years. And the Afrobarometer, it doesn't just work in Namibia, it works across Africa. So it is one of the most solid reports and analysis that you can get. So 43% unemployment indeed is extremely alarming. We also want to take a look at a poll showing when last people had a job with a cash income.
Yeah.
So if we can get that graph, then we can quickly talk about that. People are really struggling in terms of you know, not everybody works for actual cash.
Yes.
They're getting paid in food, etc., etc. But the point is, you absolutely do need money.
Cash, yes.
You need the cash.
Yes.
And there are alarming figures out showing that you know, you do not have that. There you can see 25% of people said they do not have a job with a cash income, and they're not looking for one either. Now, that not looking means or implicates or implies despondency.
Okay.
People don't think they can find a job anymore.
It implies
So-
a surrender sort
Exactly.
of. Yeah.
People who are looking for a job but still doesn't have anything with a cash income stands at nearly 43% of the people who responded in this Afrobarometer poll. Now, as I've said, the Afrobarometer poll works on international sampling measurements, so the figure that you get is very indicative of the situation in Namibia. Let's take a look. There's a scary stat in the Afrobarometer of people who say they've never had a job. So if we can maybe get that figure, never had a job, that's nearly 20% of respondents.
Yeah.
That's nearly 1 out of every 5 Namibians that say I've never had a job. Right. Another interesting graph that we've got is your GDP per capita. That gives you an indication of what people earn to sustain their livelihood, and you can see an absolute massive drop there. That is the purple line. So Namibia's GDP, and that's real GDP, so that it's adjusted for inflation. So that is the real situation on the ground. So your real GDP per capita or per person now is lower than it was in 2006, and that specific stat comes from Ceres Capital, and they've taken that graph based on the latest census figures.
Now, Jo Marie, while we are still talking about unemployment, let's look at the manifestos and the promises, you know, that political parties have made. You know, SWAPO has promised to provide over 256,000 jobs. LPM wants to give 70% jobs. And of course, PDM is saying that, look, we are going to give you 11% of these jobs by 2029. How realistic are these numbers, and what, in your opinion, what strategies should be employed to then make these dreams a reality for all Namibians, for those who qualify to be able to get jobs?
We see this time and again with elections, that these promises are being made to secure support.
Yes.
More than 200,000 jobs promised by SWAPO. They have pledged nearly 90 billion in programs to create jobs over 5 years.
Yeah.
The IPC coming in with a huge estimated decrease in unemployment. The problem is, and we've seen that in the past, the government of the day coming in and wanting to alleviate unemployment. So what it's done in the past, it's embarked on massive capital programs, development programs. Like, for instance, we've seen with the mass housing initiative. We've also seen it with the TPEC program. So yes, it does create jobs, but it's a temporary thing.
Solution.
So they boost construction, for instance, massively by building houses, building roads, building buildings. The thing is, that isn't sustainable, because those projects come to an end. Also, what happened with those huge programs by government, the last one actually was one of the factors that plunged Namibia into the beginning of the recession in 2016, because government is throwing billions of its money into the country to try and create jobs. So what you should in fact be doing is that the time is over that government can drive the economy.
Yes.
The private sector must drive the economy. So there must be a real effective and concerted effort for government and the private sector to come together and work together. Private sector is in the position to create jobs, to pump money into the economy, but the government must provide the environment that is conducive for the private sector to say, I am willing to invest millions to do this. And there we are still lacking. We're lacking in really concrete and effective measures for private sector to say, look, I'm willing to run with this.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned, these quick fixes or quick solutions, temporary solutions. If I can give you an example, we've seen it even now during the election campaign. We had local influencers hired to promote particular parties, but that's only for this period.
Yes.
What happens tomorrow
exactly
when the elections are over?
Precisely. What happens in 10 years' time?
Yes.
What happens in 20 years' time when our children need to go into the economy?
Yes.
You have to have a job creation that is sustainable. There are no quick fixes. We've tried plenty of quick fixes over the period since independence, and it has not resulted in significant job creation.
Okay, I want to talk about, small businesses. How can small businesses then be part of this economy and therefore also create jobs not only for themselves but also for their younger siblings or their generations to come, their friends? How can they, because oftentimes as young people we are told create your own jobs, but how do we do that? We are often told this is what you must do, but never the how. What's your take on that?
Yes, indeed. Your SME sector, not just in Namibia, globally has been pinned as a pivotal player in the economy. You can actually create a lot of jobs through your SME. And it's not a massive corporation or a mine that employs hundreds, but 5, 10 people, every 10 people with a job makes a difference, okay?
Yes.
So your SME sector, very important. We are struggling with the sector, and there's been various factors that contribute to that. One is a shortage of financing. Government is trying to address that. We do have a skills problem. People with ideas, but they can't really run the business sustainably.
Yes.
There are institutions that can help them, but it is a sector that must be shaped and that you do need to invest a lot of skill and a lot of time in.
Yeah. Okay, Jo Marie, let's talk about housing, another issue that, as citizens of this republic we are facing. What is the housing situation looking like? It's a crisis. We don't have places to stay. We don't have roof over our heads. We are often having to stay with family or friends of friends or colleagues of colleagues because it's just that dire, especially in cities where we then come and find employment. Housing is really just bad at this particular point.
It is an absolute massive problem in Namibia, and I just want to cue our producer that in a little while I'm going to ask for the graph on shacks to come up. Oh, there we do have it. Now that is people living in shacks, and it's based on our latest census figures, so it is official figures. And if you can see there, you've now just spoken about the people coming to the cities. If you look right in the center there, that is where your problems are. People coming from the north, from the south to the city in search of jobs. They cannot find it. Government has not been successful in its mass building program for houses. It really, the number of houses we get into the system, it really trickles. So you have a massive problem there with housing, as you say, people stay with family, etc., especially after COVID. People have lost their jobs, their incomes haven't really, increased, so you have a huge, huge problem
Yeah.
with formal housing.
And how do you foresee us, solving this housing problem?
Once again, it would take, I think the private sector should come to the party, and you need to invest in low income housing. That is where your problem is. So we've seen from the programs and the analysis that come from the economy, that is another problem. Once you get into the construction of these projects, government doesn't really appoint locals. So the local construction doesn't really benefit from these projects. And that is also a mind shift that needs to be made from government side.
All right, I think now it's time for us to cross over to Yemo Haidula. She is in Oshakati. Tuyemo, are you there? Well, perhaps.
Yes, I am here.
Tuyemo, we cannot start a conversation with you in the north and not ask about the rain as our Wambo people. Okwalokwa.
Inakulo kwa nande nando dulina enda koku.
Wacha dulina mwimona.
Inatimo na nande nando pongo manga tutalengo ke ulu.
Okay, Tiemo, how are you feeling? How are things in Oshakati? Give us an overview of what is happening.
All right, thank you so much. I am actually in Ondangwa. I am at Ondangwa Community Hall right now. And the voters are lined up and everything is going smoothly. As you can see, they have quite a very good queue. And the polling station here opened at 7 o'clock on the dot. And the presiding officer said that everything has been going really well. Everything has been going smoothly. And the voters are quite excited. They look ecstatic, and some of them are on their camping chairs, as you can see with me here. And they are just waiting to enter the polling station so that they can cast their votes. On my right is the queue for the elderly people and those that need assistance.
All right, Chiemo, that place seems a bit small. Are there any provisions for shade, seeing that it's very hot, it's sunny, people might faint even from the sun?
And unfortunately, as you know, the northern area is really very, very sunny. There's no provision for shade, but as the queue gets shorter, you can see that there is a hall here for those that are getting closer to the entrance. But for those that are outside, I will just give you a glimpse now. They are using trees for shade. Others have their umbrellas, but it's quite sunny and there's no provision for the voters or anything of that sort. But some are wearing their hats and caps, as you can see, and others are carrying umbrellas and using a tree over here for shade.
Tuyemu, we've heard from our journalists and some of the other reasons that it's taking a long time to vote. We're talking about 30, 40 people per hour. How is it there? Is the process fast?
Yes, it's really fast. Yeah, I'm actually really very impressed. It's for one person, it's taking about a minute to 2 to 3 minutes for you to complete the whole process, from them verifying your voter's card to you actually casting your vote. So the queue is going really, really fast. I was at the Omalala Community Development Center there just a couple of minutes ago. And there as well, the polling station opened at 7 o'clock and it was really, really going fast. And I've just come here to see how it's happening now in Ondangwa. And even here, I can see that it is really moving fast. And from the views that I got from the people, they did mention that they are quite satisfied with the speed.
All right, Tiemo, and finally, how is the Gen Z turnout at the polling station where you are? From your visuals, I don't see any young people, hence the question.
I don't see the Gen Z as well. I've been looking for them because I want them to take selfies with me of hashtag I just voted. But I will keep looking out for them. But so far, the turnout looks really, really well.
All right, Tiemo, thank you so much for joining us live and direct from my hometown, Ondangwa. Say hello to my people. I appreciate you for being here.
All right. Should I ask them to say hello to you on camera?
You should. Hello, so lovely. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, and back to you in studio.
All right. Now, Jo Marie, I think we should continue our conversation. More on housing, perhaps?
Yes, the housing situation, as I say, I do believe that that will be one of the things that, you know, people will take into mind when they go and vote. What are my chances of just getting a roof over my head? The chances of getting a job. We have an interesting slide, if our producer has access to it at the moment. It shows also the Afrobarometer, and it looked at hunger, the ability to be able to buy food.
Yes.
There we have it. It's Afrobarometer. It asks, how often did you go without enough to eat? And look at that figure there. Several times, at 54% of your respondents, that's half of the people who responded that didn't have enough money to buy food, that are hungry. Only about 28% that seem to be safe. Nearly 1 in 5 saying that often I'm hungry, always I'm hungry. So this would be very important. We also can quickly move on to a slide that shows your lived poverty and how that situation looked. You can see the change there, high lived poverty. 1 out of 4 Namibians that responded in your Afrobarometer. So it's really bread and butter issues, I believe, that will drive this election. Like we've seen in other elections in Africa and also internationally, people think about themselves first now when they vote, themselves and their family. And all these fancy ideas and programs seems to take really a little bit of a backseat.
Don't matter. Yes. So we've seen previously with the current ruling party, SWAPO, they say that they have reduced poverty by 17.4%. They've done something, but there is more to be done. How do you think we can address poverty reduction as a whole in Namibia?
Well, absolutely. It's wonderful that the government does have safety nets in place. A lot of people will say that's not enough.
Yes.
We think about the basic income grant that has been, on the table in Namibia for years and years and years. So those safety nets, very important, and we should be glad for them. But once again, you will only solve this problem on a sustainable basis if you can create jobs.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing that Namibia needs. We need broad-based growth in all sectors of the economy, not just pockets of the economy, like at the moment, for instance, mining.
Yes.
Mining has always been one of the backbones of the Namibian economy, and that's great. However, mining becomes problematic because if your commodity prices becomes volatile, then it comes back to the economy. So we need solid employment growth in various sectors in the economy. Once again, like I've said just now, not just a government problem. Government and private sector should come together and become partners.
Yes.
The policies must be such that they can become partners to alleviate this problem.
All right, Jo Marie, on that note, it's time for us to take a look at Michael Kayunde in the Oshikoto region. Thank you so much, Michael Kayunde in the Oshikoto region. Now, Chomari, let's continue the conversation on political parties saying that they are going to solve this hunger problem. How realistic are those promises? Is it just hearsay, good for the ears? Will it materialize on the ground?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of research going on in that regard too. We've got the World Food Programme, which is the United Nations body, doing quarterly gauging of the situation in Namibia, and it's not looking very good. The problem, of course, at the moment is the drought.
Yes.
Now, obviously, no government has control over the weather. So Namibia is drought prone. It is a problem in food production. However, there are a lot of regions in Namibia that could produce food. We've seen the government investing in the green schemes projects in the north.
Yes.
Once again, we've not really been able to get those projects off the ground. We've seen in the media often photographs of dilapidated equipment just standing around on farms, the infrastructure going to waste, and I mean it's millions and millions of taxpayers' dollars going into these programs. If we can get those programs to run efficiently, obviously we will be able to produce a lot more in Namibia. And the spin-off of that is agriculture is extremely labor intensive. So not only do you invest in food production, you also create employment. So it's a double whammy there.
Yeah.
But it has to become more efficient. The problem with Namibia, of course, is we import more than half
Yes.
of virtually everything that we consume. So we're very reliant on outside markets. A problem that comes with that is the fact that these, of course, once you start importing, you're talking about foreign currency, and if the Namibian dollar isn't strong enough, then your prices go up. You've got fuel as an import cost. That once again makes imported goods a lot more expensive, and as we know, we do not have the disposable income at the moment to absorb that.
Yeah.
So a lot of work that still needs to go into food production in the country.
While we are talking about food and food production, I love how you mentioned drought, because it's a challenge that we are all facing. I am a farmer by origin, because I'm an Awambo people. We have fields, we farm for a living. But now because of that drought, we are severely affected. We are not able to provide for ourselves. So we are then relying on drought relief. However, the problem with drought relief is that there is an unequal distribution of these food products to different households. You see some in some houses, they say, no, Aina works in this house, so we are not going to give relief here because
Yes,
there's somebody
yes.
who's working. In some houses, they say, let's share between 2 households, 3 households. So how do you think we can distribute these existing food products to all the masses, just to ensure that everybody at least has something to survive by?
Once again, we have seen there that the government machinery isn't really working at maximum pace. We often see reports in the media with photos of warehouses stocked with food, and then this food goes bad.
Yes.
Because the logistical
Aspect, maybe?
yes, it's not being thought through
Yes.
well enough. So on the one hand, government is pumping millions into food relief, and then it gets stuck there.
Yes.
We've also obviously had reports of corruption, and when it comes to food aid, and then, as you very rightly say, it becomes controversial when somebody can't qualify for food aid because one person in the household
Works, yeah.
works. So government's hands tied a little bit there in terms of its own cash crunch. but then if we just, do things more effectively, it will also help.
All right, on that note, let's quickly cross over to the Karas region with Otis Daniel.
Goed, dank je. Morgen. Het gaat goed. Dat is geen probleem.
Mooi dag hier in Keetmanshoop. Evans aan die koude kant.
Ja.
Nou, oma was de eerste persoon om oma's crisis te gaan trekken. Hoe voelt het?
Ik moest vroeg opgekomen om mijn kruisje te trekken en alles klaar te maken.
Hoe was die proces?
Het proces was alright. Dat is geen probleem.
Ja, dat was die probleem.
Dat is een probleem.
Hoe oud is oma?
Ik is 84 jaar oud. Juli maand 84 geboren.
Ja. Nou, oma, hoe lang stem oma al? Van die eerste verkiezing heeft oma gestemd?
Jij hebt ook gestemd.
Oma doet het elke
Ik doe het in elke.
Hoekom is het belangrijk om te stemmen, oma?
Om in de, als ik iets wil zeggen, heb ik het recht om te zeggen.
Nou, ons gaan nou een nieuwe president krijgen, een nieuwe partij misschien. Wat zal die boodschap wees? Wat de boodschap wil oma vir hulle gee?
Ik moet onderdanig wees en weet hoe we met de groot mensen praten en met hulle te werken.
Oma, wat zal oma vir die jongspan wil sê?
Die jongspan wil ik ook zeggen, hulle moet ook kijken wat doen ons en op ons neerkijken en doen zoals ons zessen. En hulle moet opstaan en hulle te werk doen.
Baie dankie oma. Geseënde dag verder.
Dank je.
Well, Joe Mary, just for us to, sort of wrap this conversation, I mean, we dive deeper into economics, we spoke hunger, we spoke unemployment, we spoke housing, and what needs to be done and what has been done. Personally, for me, today will be a deciding factor for, I guess, all of us. We will see how Namibians feel about all these issues that we've decided, that we've spoken about rather, because it will be reflected in the results.
It most certainly will be reflected in the results, and yes, I'm waiting with so much expectation to see these results, because it would be wonderful to get an indication of what weighs on the Namibian mind.
Yes, absolutely. And on that note, we will be right back. Please do stay with us.
It all began with ink on paper, a small but powerful voice that reached the homes of Namibians, sharing their stories, their triumphs, their struggles. As the world evolved, so did we. From the presses to your screens, keeping you connected to the news that matters, wherever you are. We didn't stop at digital. We brought the action to life on your screens, covering the moments that unite us all. We're not just a source of information. We're your partner in exploration, booking your stay, paying for your meals, and even sending your event tickets straight to your phone. Reaching over 1 million people daily, we are a fully integrated system, working together to make your life easier. Whether it's news, events, or everyday information, we've brought it all together. We're committed to empowering the next generation. Through partnerships and innovation, we're delivering education to every corner of Namibia. We've become so much more. More than news, more than information. We're here to help you enjoy everything Namibia has to offer. Emerald Sand platforms. So much more than just news.
And we're back bringing you the latest in the election. Of course, Namibia or Network Media Hub, we have people all over Namibia. We bring you videos, we bring you news, also analysis. I'm Jo Marie Duddy, and I'm joined by the face of Sunset News. Hello,
Glenora.
For a moment I got confused there. Sorry, it's election day. Glenora,
yes,
thank you very much for joining me.
It's quite hectic. I mean,
It is hectic.
Everybody saying on their way to work, they saw queues of people lining up at the polling stations to exercise their democratic right and vote for the 5th president and the 8th National Assembly.
Yes, and some of the material that our guys in the field already sent to us last night, showing that at certain polling stations, people actually spend the night, already spend the night. People started this morning, some of them as early as 3, 4 o'clock
To make sure they get there
to make
early
sure
enough.
that they can exercise that right to vote. It's wonderful.
And that's a yay for democracy, I have to
Absolutely.
say. I think Ashwin also mentioned that the fact that there's so many polling stations and people have access to this, which is also a step in the right direction if you are a democratic country, which we are. And getting back to the conversation that you were having with Aina earlier on, I mean, you guys touched on unemployment, you touched on the housing issue, you touched a little bit on the drought that the country is facing. You guys went extensively on the economic aspects of this. But I just want to come back to the youth unemployment, which is a big, big factor.
A big factor. And the thing with the youth is a very interesting factor in this election. Now, you must remember your officially, the youth is being classified from 15 to 34. Okay? So your guys vote once they start, once they're 18. So what is important, and the youth, from registered voters, the youth make up more than 40%. Now, these young people, most of them born post-independence. So they're a whole new generation. They do not necessarily have that loyalty to the liberation struggle. They weren't part of it. They might hear from their parents, but they don't have that personal connection. So the issues of the day will be what is important to the youth. Let's quickly take a look at some statistics. Let's look at how big Namibia's youth population is. There we have it. More than 1 million people aged between 15 and 34 in Namibia. That is a third of the Namibian population.
That is
right?
quite, I didn't know it was that.
It is huge,
Yes.
okay? So it is a massive number that you're dealing with. If we look, these of course are the latest census figures. The census was conducted last year, so it's as fresh as it can get. Let's have a look at the literacy level of the youth. We have a graph on that because that gives you an indication of what, how the ability of your youth.
Are they getting the skills to join the workforce?
Exactly. Now, overall, we have a literacy level of more than 90%. So these young people are people that can go into the formal sector, labor sector, doing anything from a semi-skilled to, to more skilled jobs, depending on their qualifications. But the thing is, so you have to look at your employment creation in terms of, you can't just, we're not just talking people with no skills that you can say, should work in homes or ordinary farm workers, etc. You now deal with a population that is literate. And so
getting into that, would you say that there is a gap that exists between the skill set that the youth are acquiring and the actual job market? Is there a gap there?
Absolutely. Number one, we do have a massive unemployment problem. We don't have enough jobs. But the debate has been ongoing that although we pump billions into education, once your learners finish, their skill set still isn't matched to what the job market is. Even when you go to tertiary level, universities, etc., they come out with degrees, but it's not necessarily what the job market wants. So ongoing debate around, shouldn't we rather look at a lot more effective vocational training at a much younger age? Find out what the economy needs and skill people accordingly so that they at least can get a job.
The political parties have been campaigning, and we saw over the last weekend that they have massive rallies all over the country. In their manifestos, would you say they are addressing, especially this critical need, the youth unemployment? Are they addressing this at a very realistic level, would you say?
I read through the manifestos, especially the ones that analysts poll as the real movers and shakers in this election. And yes, you do get very impressive figures like we're going to halve unemployment. To start off with, we don't even really have an official rate of unemployment. So, how many jobs are you thinking about? Where's the money going to come from? In the manifestos, I got a lot of promises about huge decreases in unemployment, etc., etc. I didn't get too much of detailed programs as how we're going to do it. And that I found lacking, because it's very difficult to assess how realistic these promises are. Anybody can throw out figures, and anybody going to say we're going to throw billions at the problem. Is it going to solve the problem? So I do, that was a lack in the manifestos as far as I'm concerned.
I hear you. And there's a lot of discontent among the youth. I mean, we did see a march, was it last week or the week before that, where the medical interns were marching saying that they're overworked and underpaid. And I think currently they're saying they're just going to work their stipulated hours and they're not going to do overtime anymore. And so there's a lot of youth dissatisfaction. And there's also voter apathy amongst the youth, where they don't believe in the system anymore, and some of them are opting to not go out and vote. What are your thoughts towards that?
Of course you do have that, and it was interesting when we touched on that when we spoke to GMO just now in Ondangwa, and saying, where are all the young faces? We're not seeing young faces. So that will be interesting to see the voter turnout. That is always a very good indication of to which extent citizens believe in the power of political parties to actually put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. Apathy, there's a section of people that say it's your right to vote, but it's also my right not to vote. And by not voting, I am indicating my dissatisfaction with the status quo, and probably my disbelief that anything would, be different once the election is over. However, it is very important that you do go out to vote. Somebody who doesn't vote, you might be able to say it's my form of protest, but you haven't participated in the chance of maybe shaping things differently.
Exactly, and I feel like more of the youth need to, come and vote, and also be part of the democratic system. And there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of voter apathy, but it doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help.
It doesn't help at all. Getting back to the political parties, would you say that there are some political parties that are appealing to the youth, especially the ones who are, are resistant to voting?
Well, we have a huge array of parties that people can go and vote for. As a matter of fact, I read some reports internationally earlier this morning, and a lot of local analysts are actually saying that there's too many parties. It's oversaturated. So people don't, there's so many parties to vote for that even if they do get a small percentage of votes, it's not enough to make a change. Of course, I wouldn't like to, focus on certain parties saying that they appear more to the youth than others, but it is important to remember that we're dealing with a new generation of voters that might break away from the status quo and the way things were prior to independence, that loyalty. We also have some very exciting new players in the game. For instance, the IPC with the last 2019 elections, did not participate in the National Assembly elections. And they are queued to be a huge force in this election. So it's going to be extremely interesting to look at.
Yeah, now getting back to the youth, I know there's a lot of extremely nuances around this. For instance, the youth that are in the rural areas and the youth that are in the urban setting, one might say that there's a gap in terms of the ones who are in the rural areas don't get a lot of support or don't have access to the support that government might be given to, for instance, somebody in Windhoek and so forth. Would you say this is true to a degree?
It's very difficult to really gauge because both come with their own unique set of challenges. In the rural areas, yes, obviously, you don't have access to all the amenities that you do have in the urban areas. But then in your urban areas, you have huge challenges in terms of housing. A lot of people don't have their family to support because they've come to the city centres, etc.
Right.
So
thank you so much. Before we continue on that note, let's take a look at what Precious Ngitwanapo has for us on the ground in the Erongo region.
Yeah, thank you very much, Precious. I'm Vincent Kahwa, the mayor of Maruru. Today is the 27th of November, the very important day for every Namibians. And as the first citizen of Maruru town, I was already in the land around 6 o'clock, and I was patient enough for 1 hour. The team is ready here at the Maruru Center. They start on time 7 o'clock. I was the first to vote, and I have cast my vote for the president of the country, and I have also cast my vote for the members of parliament. And the exercise here is moving very good, and I can see also they are ready. They are well equipped, they are well trained, they are ready to exercise their work according to the ECN. What I will just request the residents of Maruru is to be patient, to make sure that you vote your right candidate for the president of the country. It's very important, and also to make sure that you make the right choice for your members of parliament. And I wish everyone good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Precious, for that update from the Erongo region as the nation is voting. Now, back to our conversation, Jo Marie. I do understand that you do have some statistics on how people feel regarding the current government. Could we take a look at that?
Yes, absolutely. Before we start doing that, once again, these are Afrobarometer. It's a poll done by the Afrobarometer. Afrobarometer, not just in Namibia, they've got their partners in Namibia, Survey Warehouse, who does that for them. But the Afrobarometer is continent-wide. They do amazing research. So these are reliable trends that come out of the research that they do. And once again, I'm not trying to bash government or anything, but I use these stats to say, or to sort of motivate the fact that I say people will vote with their pockets. Okay, so let's take a look. This is they asked the respondents how they feel about government, the current government's management of the economy. Look at that, we've got 42% saying that government is doing a really, really bad job. We've got only 6% that are, satisfied with the way the current government is handling the economy. Let's take it closer to home. We're looking at improving living standards. Once again, the Afrobarometer stats, we just need to zoom out on that if we can a little bit. But once again, because government isn't managing the economy very well, you feel that they can't improve the man on the ground's living standards. Very badly, more than half of the people that Afrobarometer spoke to said that they don't believe the current government can improve their living standards. Let's come back to the big white elephant in the room, creating jobs. People's believe that current government can indeed create jobs. If we can get those stats, we can have a look at that. 2/3 of people sampled by the Afrobarometer, and it's an internationally recognized sample, which means that they spoke to enough people so that it can be regarded as a reliable trend in the country. 2/3 of Namibians saying that they don't believe that government is handling the job creation, in a good way. So 2% saying they think government is doing a good job. These are really, really alarming figures.
Yeah, they are alarming figures. On that note, would you say that the young people don't feel adequately represented in decision making that shape their future?
That would be interesting, because a lot of the parties have a youth wing, okay? So, but I would imagine that from that youth wing, if one just look at the current government, obviously the voice hasn't really, surfaced. There's not really, that big an impact. I find it so disheartening, because when the graduation ceremonies are on of the universities, I drive past the venue where these ceremonies are being held, and I mean, everybody's upset about the queues, and it's just this huge number of people that get degrees and diplomas, and yet that they're not going to find jobs. So it's extremely disheartening.
It is. There's so many cases of that where you find people who have studied to be medical doctors,
Yes.
engineers, queuing up in long queues to be bartenders and waitresses.
Absolutely.
And we have had cases of that that we've reported on that specifically. So it is quite disheartening, as you are saying. What do you believe the youth should do to challenge the government and their leaders, political leaders, whoever they may be, in terms of addressing their needs?
I think the youth should mobilize themselves to start off with, not in a disruptive, but in a proactive manner. And I believe that the change will come from the youth. The youth can't just sit there and say we don't have jobs. They need to proactively get involved in the process of solving this. So find out why the unemployment situation is there. Look at sectors that might be able to provide more jobs. Why isn't it doing so? Find out if the youth indeed has the skills to be able to go into these sectors. If they don't, take it back to education, and start grooming those skills from a very early age. But then once again, as I've said just now, the onus can't just be on government to provide these jobs. Government, we do not have that power anymore. Government is in no financial space to be able to throw huge amounts of money at this problem. If we talk about sustainability, we talk about the private sector starting to pump money into the economy, investing in the economy. We're not just talking about your local private sector, and that brings us back to foreign investors. We need to take a look at, are we attractive enough for foreign investors? We do find a huge gap in policy there. I mean, our empowerment policy, it's been dragging for so long. Analysts are sick and tired of saying there's too much uncertainty about that. Can we get closure on this? Because you can't expect an investor to pump billions into a country if he's not sure what the regime is that he's operating in. We've got huge movements in oil and gas at the moment, also with hydrogen. These are mega projects with huge spin-offs that can create huge employment opportunities in terms of provider.
And what I love about that, we have seen, I think throughout the year, and perhaps last year, said to be corrected, scholarships being
especially
granted
in the
for green hydrogen.
Green
And that's a way to empower the youth. And once these industries are functioning in Namibia, we have a skilled workforce that can, cater to that. And that I have to say, I was happy to see happening.
Yes, it's wonderful that we are indeed skilling our own people to become players in these sectors, because that's one of the things that foreign investors very often say is we'll come in, but we're bringing our own people because you guys don't have the skills to be able to operate in this sector.
Yes, and I like that you touch on collaboration and innovation, that we shouldn't just look to one entity to solve this issue, that we should also call in the private sector. We should also, work at finding innovative solutions to the unemployment rate in the country. For instance, entrepreneurship is another aspect that is not touched on as much, but of course we need to create a nation or the youth that has a taste for business and wants to create entrepreneurship and businesses for themselves and others. So I like that you touch on that. I think we are going to take a look at the Omaheke region, speaking to Marit Ngula.
My name is Vimo Mutima Kachomise, presiding officer for Khobabes constituency, municipality Khobabes station. We started on time, 6 o'clock is when we started preparing our materials inside, but officially the process opened up at 7 o'clock and we started with our governor and the first lady. They were the first to vote and the process is going smooth. The youth is turning up and we are hoping for a great turnout for the day.
Good afternoon, Ilani. I don't know if it's good afternoon or good morning. I think we seem to be having
A slight glitch there.
But all right,
We'll keep getting them. We've got
Yes.
them all over the country.
Yes.
It's unbelievable, and you will be able to recognize them because all our people are wearing NMH Media bright yellow bibs.
And they're giving you coverage all over the country. Really
On various platforms. We really have this. We have this covered.
Yes, exactly. Let's take a look at some of the coverage that we have over the country.
Oh, we'll get to that
in a bit. Let's continue with our conversation. We talked a lot on the youth unemployment rate. We talked a lot about how people are voting with their pockets. Because, like you said, there's a lot of dissatisfaction, especially among the youth, regarding just some of these issues that are not being addressed, or they feel they are not addressed. Let me not say are not being addressed, but that they feel are not being addressed. What are some of the trends that you're predicting amongst the youth this election cycle?
It's going to be very interesting because, personally, if you look at the data, the youth could have a massive say in the next government, simply because of their numbers. The question, of course, is, will they go and vote? Yes. Because that is going to be the crux. And it will be very interesting to see to which side they swayed more, so that one can have an idea of where they believe the change will come from.
All right. I think we can now take a look at the Ohangwena region, speaking to... Sorry, not Ohangwena region, Omaheke. We are with Elani Smith in Omaheke region. Let's take a look.
Good morning, good morning. You're speaking to Tony Gushita Shisho, and I'm here at the polling station for Korihas. We are at the Edibo Hall, so I'm inviting all the youth to come vote. You know, our vote will make a change. So your vote counts. We come in numbers, as you can see here behind me. The queues are not too long. Everything is in order. So for youth, we know that our vote will make a change. So come in numbers. There are different polling stations here in Korihas. So let's come vote. Let's push for change.
Hi, good morning, Octavia. Oh, sorry, guys. That was actually Octavia. We are having some...
You should see the studio. It is a hub of happenings.
A hub of so much that's happening.
It is stickers and data and
I
videos
like that,
and...
like everybody is exercising their democratic right. We're going out, we are voting, and we are covering it everywhere. So you can imagine.
And isn't that what is so spectacular? Is the array of technology that we have at our disposal to be able to cover this. We've got video, we've got vMix calls, live calls. We've got various platforms. It's really, you're able to experience...
And we're on the ground with the voter.
You're able to experience an election the way you've never been able to.
And I love that. I love that. I don't know if I admitted this to you, but I was eligible to vote the last election cycle. But then I couldn't vote because I was out of the country, and this is going to be my first voting. Yes.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, so I'm quite excited to head to the polls and, you know, exercise my democratic right to vote. And I'm seeing a lot of, like we said, there's so many queues. People are, you know, going out in numbers to vote. So I love this.
But it's also interesting. Very often in these queues, it develop some kind of vibe, because most people realize, look, it takes its time. We are here, we have, and you know, the community comes out and people interact. And I mean, every now and again there is somebody that gets upset, but mostly it's just a lovely level of connecting with Namibians you don't normally connect to.
Yes, and this would be your what cycle of voting? Because like I said, this is my first time. I am a little bit nervous as well, as first-time voters are. What advice would you give to me and anybody else who's voting for the first time?
Enjoy it. Absolutely enjoy it. You are part of tomorrow's Namibia. Isn't that fantastic? And we also we've received a couple of interviews, video interviews, etc., from our guys on the ground, and they've spoken to quite a number of first-time voters as saying, we're standing in this queue, we're doing this.
I love that. And of course, hashtag Namibia Decides 2024 will give you all of the coverage. More election coverage coming up after this. polls have officially been opened now for 4 hours, and we're still giving you election coverage. I'm now joined by Francoise. Am I saying it correctly?
You are saying it correctly.
Okay,
Good morning.
great.
What a wonderful day.
What a wonderful day. It's so hectic. The queues, everybody is going out to vote. You and I still need to go out to vote. There's a lot of buzz happening, and I like that because people are exercising their democratic right to vote. They're going out in numbers to elect the 5th president and the 8th National Assembly.
It is amazing. I've been to, I live in Elisenheim, so there the queue is into the estate. It's just, there's no parking. It is hectic, but it looks so joyful. I wish I could have joined them already. Everybody's waving.
You should have been part of the morning crew.
And hats and I love elections.
Well, getting into your bread and butter, which is agriculture, yes. And the country is currently facing, a drought situation, which is affecting a lot of people. What are your thoughts on this?
The drought is devastating. It's really, really devastating. Livelihoods, the livestock, the crops, the wildlife. It is so sad if you travel through this country and you see animals dying, you see people hungry. It's heartbreaking.
I do hear you. I do hear you. You do have a specific regions that you want to talk about that are affected. We're not saying all of them are not affected, but we're just going to look at the Omaheke region.
Yes.
And
I have a specific region for that. Everywhere in the country, it is dry. And it's been like for 10 years. We have a drought. But some regions, like the Kunene, and if you go to Omaheke region, specific areas like Aminuis and Kara's region, if you go to Kois, Aruap, Karasburg, remember they had a drought, they had fires, they had locusts. So even the south, west, everywhere is dry. But the reason I want to focus on Omaheke as one of the regions, children are dying there because of malnutrition. But they have the lowest amount of registered voters. Only 47,000.
Could you take a look at, wow. That is really devastating.
See,
take a look at
this is devastating. This is our country. This is how it looks. There's nothing to eat for the animals or the people.
This is definitely very concerning. Let's take a look at the voter turnout or registration for the Omaheke region and just see how they feel about being a part of the democratic process. So this was the 2019 National Assembly results. SWAPO had 12,391, NUDO had 3,899, BDM had 3,383, and the Omaheke total votes in 2019 were 23,339. I would like to compare that to the current registered voters for the Omaheke region, which we have round about a total of 47,752 registered.
But
currently.
Interesting there, like Aminuis, which is one of the driest parts in Omaheke. I see they have 7,000, more than 7,000 registered voters, and then Epikuru only 3,800.
Oshinene has 5,000. I'm from Oshinene.
Are you from Oshinene?
Yes, so a little bit above 5,000, but I would say that is not in terms of the eligible voters, it's not reflective of the population there and who is eligible to vote. So
Kalahari 4,993, Okarukambe 4,494, and Gobabis the town 18,000. So the people in town, they are very active voters. But I really wished that the farmers who is experiencing this terrible, terrible, devastating drought would have turned out more.
What are some of the challenges that the farmers are facing, would you say? I know that the drought is affecting everything, but could you highlight some of the challenges?
Oh, the poor farmers. So many challenges. So it's not only the drought, it's livestock prices. Because now it's a drought spell, they can't sell their cattle or sheep for high prices. They get low prices.
So they're not getting market value.
They don't get market value. And also there are international factors like the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So that had a devastating effect. So they have to put in a lot more money and they get out less.
You mentioned some really disheartening information earlier on, saying that some children died of malnutrition due to the drought. Can you expand on this?
Well, because people don't get an income. They don't have money to buy food. And they can't produce food themselves to be self-sustainable. So this is heartbreaking. There is not enough food in certain regions. So that's why the government implemented the drought relief. And there's a big issue. Remember the culling of our wildlife so that we can feed the nation. So international greenies, they are very negative towards this. But even the animals will die. They are dying. Wildlife is dying. So government implemented this plan of culling the animals and then give the meat to the communities.
Speaking of communities, are there specific communities or groups that are affected by malnutrition?
Yes, Omaheke, Okavango East.
Yeah. I see.
Tumkwe area.
I see.
The San people, the marginalized people. Kunene also, the marginalized people, they are the people who suffer the most.
Would you say these communities would come out in, or why would they come out in numbers and vote, or would they not? What's your take on that?
I hope they do. I'd really like to take a look at Kunene region too.
Yes.
And I hope the marginalized people come out and vote.
Let's take a look at some of the statistics for the election turnout in 2019 and also the current voter registration in the Kunene region. Well, while that is coming up, while our producers are bringing that up, I would say the drought, you mentioning that there's high malnutrition in the country, that was really, really concerning. And I like that you mentioned that the government had put measures in place to know that we are trying to curb this issue. Now let's take a look at some of the registrations, the 2024 registrations, voter registration for the Kunene region. The total is at 56,036. Epupa has 10,892. Kori has 8,031, while the Opur rural has 6,333. Opur urban has 11,952. Ocho has 9,896, and Sesfontein has 4,444.
I have to say I am impressed. It's 97% of voters.
Yes.
So I think that explains that they feel the need that they have to go out and vote and hopefully have a better future. Speaking of the Kunene region, it is also the hub, the hotspot of rhino poaching and poaching.
Wow. And the fact that people, I like that you're saying more people now in the Kunene region are coming out to vote. They're coming out in numbers and they're exercising their democratic right. How would you say the local leaders and communities are involved in finding solutions for drought-related issues?
I hope that they are involved, because those are also marginalized people. And often they don't have a voice and they are not heard. So this is their chance to go out and have a voice and say what they want to say, and maybe get better leaders to speak for them or to be their voices. I just want to go back to the poaching, because wildlife numbers are down and people are hungry. They do poach.
Is that where it's coming from? So it's
That's where it's coming from. But also, that is your gemsbok, your oryx, your springbok. That's poaching for meat to eat. But then we have the high rhino poaching numbers, and specifically in Etosha. Those are well-organized crime syndicates, which is, I really hope we win this fight.
Yes.
I really hope we win this fight, because so many rhinos were killed this year. I think 67, that was the latest number I received from the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. And recently, what is happening now, because there are anti-poaching units, it's a collaboration between the police and the army and the Ministry of Environment. So what happened now is these poachers come in, and the APU units are they are very good now, very advanced. So they pick up that the people are there, and then they get shot at. So recently, 3 poachers were killed in Etosha.
I think I've heard of that one.
And just 6 months ago, another 2 were killed. So, but also why? It's the people on the ground that are the poachers. They are you speak of a triad. These syndicates, it's a triad. So it's the countries that want the rhino horns, they're on top. And then you have your carriers and your smugglers. But the poachers are the poor people on the ground. And why do they do that? Because they're hungry and they are poor.
How would you say the ongoing drought crisis is affecting the youth?
There are some young people there in those regions who don't go to school because they help their parents and their grandparents to look after the goats and the sheep and the cattle. And it has a major, major effect on the youth. They don't go to school in some regions because they try to help their parents and go look for a job.
All right, I think we have some breaking news that we are crossing over to Venani.
What needs to be done is to create multiple rooms at the same polling booth. Like in India, you would have 10 polling booths at one school. So you would have 10 stations. So the lines could go faster. That's the only thing you can do. You need to create multiple booths at voting stations so that you are not stuck with one.
That was McHenry Venani, the leader of PDM. Now getting right back into our conversation, you did talk a lot about the current drought crisis that's happening all over the country, and how it's affecting a lot of the people, mainly the marginalized communities, and that there is a lot of malnutrition and children are dying because they are malnourished, which is really a concerning aspect indeed. And we talked also on how the youth feel about this, and you know, you gave a little bit of an overview of how the youth are reacting, especially the ones that are based in the rural areas that are facing these severe, harsh drought, which is really, as you said, very concerning. And we do know that no government can predict a drought, and I don't think it also falls only on the government.
No,
but
no, of course not. That's a climate issue.
Yes, it's a climate issue.
We have to talk about that too.
Yes. So what NGOs or partnerships would you like to highlight that are helping curb this issue?
There are wonderful NGOs out there, but also I have to say government is handing out food parcels, and of course also diplomatic missions in Namibia. They donate a lot of money and food parcels, and also vouchers. Shopping vouchers, so that there's no corruption or stuff are stolen, because that happens. That the food gets stolen in the warehouses, or the meat that has been culled and transported just disappeared. When the truck gets there, then, oh, where are the eland that we've hunted? So I think that is a very good system. Japan has a system like this. That they hand out food vouchers,
sure.
And you go to a shop and you buy your cooking oil and your maize.
Well, we'll continue more on this conversation. We now have Kenya Kambowe, who's covering what's happening in Ohangwena region, and he contributed this video.
Mr. Ferdinand, can you just tell us what time you came here and why are you here to vote?
Well, I'm here to vote because voting is very important. So I'm come so morning time here.
Around what time?
It's around 4.
Okay.
Yeah, from 4 up to now.
Okay, and how far do you stay from here?
Maybe 20 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So voting is very important.
So you are willing to stand in the queue for a long time just to vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Until end of the voting.
Okay. Tell me, what is your message to those people who are at home who are not who have voters cards but they don't want to be here today? What is your message to them?
The message from me, the people was at home would not come to vote, so they must stand up, so to come to vote, because your vote is very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Okay. Welcome.
That was Kenya Kambowe with that report from Ohangwena region. We now take a look at what Mariette Ngula had for us as he interviewed the king of Ondonga in the Oshana region.
Aye, umahoro genda na wanena mpano pwandiba, posenda yo pwandibo potwa horo lele. Antu hoya horoka tsotea popondano mbano na governor. No malenga gehego moshilongo shondonga. Opotuburo kuhorora oshoka ehogororo joe mone nanji keke gumwe tuhorora olili oshimasha simano oshoka otuli komeleri goe ngono teke kukalera po notaka kara oeta uvuko omapuro goe nenge omakwatho goe ngatoka po ongena tuhenya tujeni mo ngoro ko nguno ndonga nenge moshilongo shondonga shike tuyeni tukahogorore ni tse tukalekipo mahoro ge tweni kalekipo shilongo shetu Namibia shamanguruka nerandura thano nombiri yetu ni jono teikongenitse.
That was Mariette Ngula with His Majesty King Philemon Shumbwa Nangolo, the king of Ondonga tribe. Francois, you brought so much to the forefront. We touched on the severe drought affecting the country, and I just want to touch a little bit on climate change that's affecting not only Namibia, but the rest of the world.
The whole problem with climate change is the developed countries, they are the guilty ones. And we are the ones, the developing countries are the ones suffering. And Namibia is one of the driest countries. Namibia is an arid country. So we have 2 deserts. We already have dry spells, but now it's getting worse and worse and worse. This is the worst drought in 100 years. Okay, so now COP29 happened in Abidjan. Okay, now again, the developed countries is supposed to finance us to harness these climate reactions. But they're very stingy. They're very stingy. They say I have to praise Environmental Minister Pohamba Shifeta. He was really strict on this and say, listen, you have to stand up now. We have a drought, we have animals dying, we have people dying, we don't have water resources, so it's time for you to pay up. Okay, so it was supposed to be 100 billion a year that they have to pay. Now it's been raised to 300. But it's been dragging on since Paris. And they really have to earn up now. They have to pay up, because we are suffering.
I totally understand what you're saying. Thank you so much for the insights on the severe drought situation that's happening in the country, and also the effects of climate change and what is the right approach to it, and your opinions on that. We'll be back with more election coverage.
It all began with ink on paper, a small but powerful voice that reached the homes of Namibians, sharing their stories, their triumphs, their struggles. As the world evolved, so did we. From the presses to your screens, keeping you connected to the news that matters, wherever you are. We didn't stop at digital. We brought the action to life on your screens, covering the moments that unite us all. We're not just a source of information. We're your partner in exploration, booking your stay, paying for your meals, and even sending your event tickets straight to your phone. Reaching over 1 million people daily, we are a fully integrated system, working together to make your life easier. Whether it's news, events, or everyday information, we've brought it all together. We're committed to empowering the next generation. Through partnerships and innovation, we're delivering education to every corner of Namibia. We've become so much more. More than news, more than information. We're here to help you enjoy everything Namibia has to offer. NTV, so much more than just television.
And a warm welcome to my colleague Diana Master. How is your election day so far?
It is amazing. It's so beautiful to see. I will not lie to you. Every time I'm seeing people at the polling stations or live feed from the polling stations, I'm getting goosebumps because everybody's really exercising their democratic right.
Oh, the spirit is amazing.
It
it's
is.
like, I can't wait to get in that line
and just, yes, you know, put your voice on
put my
that.
cross
yes,
there.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think generally speaking, yes, as much as we do want to talk about people exercising their democratic right, we also still have to, in a way, bring it back to the reality.
Yes.
The reality that is on the ground, because we've been seeing all these parties with their different manifestos talking about, you know, different things from agriculture to even just human rights, women's rights.
Women's rights.
Yes. And do you know one of the most interesting and also disturbing statistics that we found is that between January 2020 and December 2023, there was a total of 17,699 total reported GBV cases, and the female victims were 14,349, which accounted for 81.2%, and the male victims were 18.78%.
But there's other statistics that's more disturbing to me. 666 children were raped in 6 months. Only the first 6 months of this year. That is
truly horrific.
That is shocking.
And then now we do have to ask these questions because from some of the manifestos that we've seen, what are these political parties doing?
And some are doing nothing. They don't even have that in their manifestos.
And if you haven't gotten a chance to look at them, for example, IPC, SWANU, Republican Party, Affirmative Repositioning, United Democratic Front, and the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters aren't mentioning anything specific or in regards to gender-based violence.
Nothing.
Yes. So it is quite concerning because we do have to ask, you know, women's rights are people's rights.
Women's rights are people's rights. I mean, we are the mothers of the nation.
Yes.
And we are the backbone of this country.
I
feel
agree.
if it wasn't for the mothers and the women, there won't be any sons or any children.
Or any children or anything
Okay,
like that.
It takes two to tango.
It takes two to tango. What do you think?
For me, where are the practical solutions? Where are the safe houses for women?
Yes.
How many are there? How many?
Very few.
If you say if you have a boyfriend and he does something to you tonight, where do you go? Where do you go? Say, where are the baby boxes? Where are the baby boxes for? There's one in Swakopmund, and it's a private initiative. I want practical solutions.
Yes. And I think also the practical solutions start from curbing or rather understanding the victim. Because then again, there's still a lot of stigma surrounding
it's a lot of
gender-based
stigma.
violence.
Will you go to the police if you get raped? I mean, it's such a horrible, traumatic experience. Then you have to go to the police, and all the red tape and the medical examinations.
Yes.
I'm honest, I don't know if I will go through with that. And I raise my hat for all the women who has gone through that process, because I think it can't be easy.
Definitely not.
I have to praise the police that there is a gender-based violence unit. Wonderful. Wonderful. But still, where are the safe houses? Can't we make this process easier, smoother?
And a little more discreet.
And a
because
little
again,
more discreet.
The stigma. So, you know, this is where actually one of the points in LPM's manifesto is focusing on educational initiatives to address GBV, particularly in schools and universities. I think that's like the basis level.
Yeah, it has to start in our houses.
Yes.
It has to start with roles, different, not the
we have to
system.
change.
We have to
yes,
change
we have
that.
to change the
that
sexist
everybody
behavior.
is equal, and
the sexist
this is where it should begin. We should change it in our homes and even in our churches, because I have to say there are some pastors or religious leaders or prophets who are raping our children or no, I'm so sorry to say that, but there is something rotten in the core of our society. If 666 children got raped in only 6 months.
But you see, the problem is these are the reported cases.
How many are there?
That have not been reported.
How many else are there? And which is also disturbing. It is usually a family member or a friend or of the family or a teacher or a prophet or someone that you trust.
Someone that they trust.
Someone that you trust or know. And then it's like, oh, let's sweep it under the carpet and keep quiet about this. We don't want...
People can't know.
People
we
may not
make
know.
it because
Let's keep it a family secret.
Yes.
Or yeah, and we have to speak up. I know
it's difficult.
It's very difficult.
It's difficult, but as you can see right now, these are live visuals from some of the polling stations. This is as it is happening. You know, #Namibia decides. Our election watch is live, so we're bringing you coverage from different polling stations. As you can see, some polling stations are maintaining peace. People are standing in their queues. They're lucky though, there's not too much sun there. But as you can see here, yes, I think people are really doing what they can.
It seems peaceful.
It seems peaceful.
Yeah, I have to
peaceful.
say, after the videos coming in, it seems peaceful. Is there any chaos
and it seems
out
regulated.
there?
It seems
and it's regulated, well organized, and everybody brought their chairs and their umbrellas. So yeah, it's a jolly occasion.
It is, because you know what, with me, as much as I appreciate the sun, I hate standing in the sun. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, but people are actually bringing their sun hats, their umbrellas, even strollers. People are going out to vote with their children because they're who we are doing it for. You understand? They're the reason that we are voting for.
And I have to say, the spirits in the lines, it's so nice. You talk to everyone, and then this is the time when you see the true Namibian nation.
Namibia becomes one.
Namibia becomes one. It doesn't matter for whom you vote.
Yes.
Everybody is talking and sharing a chair or buying a water for someone.
As you can see,
a little bit of chaos. What is going on
There was a
here?
bit of commotion there at one of the polling stations up in the north. As you can see, people running. We will, of course, be getting the full details as they come. But for now, that's all we can see. But okay, bringing it back to, you know, women's rights and the gender-based violence that we were talking about earlier. I think, as you were saying, it starts at home. Because again, we have to change the whole system.
Yes.
Because again, right now we are still, for lack of better terms, we still have that patriarchal rule.
Yes, we do.
And then, like you're saying, if there is a victim, then most of the times you have to sweep it under the rug, because why would you expose an uncle or a father?
An uncle or the father or a famous
pastor
or a teacher.
Yes.
Even in schools.
Yes.
Even in schools, in hostels, girls got raped. And these are the people you trust. So, yeah, we have. It's the culture. It's.
Yes.
You know, there's a. I've learned I've traveled a lot, and I've lived in different cultures, and it's not always been easy. But I've learned one thing during my travels. Someone told me there's a fine line between culture and cult.
Yes, very much so. You can't
So
spell
I think
culture
we have
without
to,
cult.
let's set those boundaries. And, you know, some cultures are very close to cults, and we
But
have to
because
get
you
that
grow
right
up
in
in
our
it,
homes.
you grow up thinking
so
this is
it's
how
difficult
things should be.
Yeah, it's how it should be.
You grow up thinking this is how it should be. So a lot of the victims actually do suffer in silence. And if you're just joining us, we are actually just talking a little bit about human and female rights. So now we're going to be crossing over to Okhone Tlage, who is in the Commerce region, so that he just updates us on the state of affairs.
Is to end in the same manner. The day to end in the same manner, I visited quite a number of posts or polling stations, and the environment is the same. I will be moving it to the other side, to the suburbs. I want to cover as much as possible, but I want to assure our people that the environment so far of the way we started is actually exciting. And I urge our people to conclude this day in the same manner, because there's no reason for Namibians to push each other on a one-day vote. If they were able to navigate through the campaign, which was much longer, they went through it. As Inspector General, I can confidently report it to you that Namibian police has not received any report of any nature involving to election violence or pushing on each other during the campaign, and I'm sure this process will be concluded in the same manner.
So yes, this is just basically Okhone Tlage. He was there, he's in the Commerce region, he's updating us again, as you can see. So yeah, so back to what we were saying, the discussion earlier.
I have to say there's also another side, that men also get abused.
Yes, I mean, from the statistics that we reported earlier,
they
a
are.
total, yes,
17%,
18% were
18%.
actually male victims. And you know, the
Yeah.
nature of the reported GBV cases was common assault, assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm, and malicious damage to property. Those were the leading causes.
But can I go to the positive of women's rights? Our politics in the National Assembly and the National Council, the 50-50.
Yes, yes.
Wow,
yes, the
I
zebra.
mean, we are like, oh,
I mean, they
I'm
do
so
refer
proud
to
of
it
that.
as the zebra.
The zebra,
yeah.
yes.
So it's 50-50, it's balanced.
Yes, so we...
And I think we also have to look at some things like, for example, the fact that, and this is going to be a bit of a sensitive topic, so I do have to give a bit of a trigger warning here. For example, if you take a look at now the American election, for example, when they were talking about reproductive rights.
Ooh, that's a very sensitive topic.
That is a very, which is why I did say a trigger warning.
Can I just go back to the politics and say this is the first time that there's a female, there could be a female president. So this is how far we are. We have a female prime minister, and I'm really, really proud of that.
Yeah.
And so for me, equal rights, we've got it. We've got it in our political system.
Yes.
So that is amazing for me. Okay, so you want to go back to the reproductive?
No, I just wanted to talk about some of the constitutional rights.
Any political party has it in their manifesto, or?
Well, right now, mostly from some of the manifestos that I've read, SWAPO is aiming to enhance legislation and enforcement, but this is now again regarding GBV, to address GBV comprehensively. This includes better implementation of existing laws and exploring stricter penalties for offenders.
That's good.
Then there's also empowering women economically. They're emphasizing the empowerment of women through economic opportunities, education and entrepreneurship, aiming to reduce vulnerabilities that often contribute to GBV. So yes, and then earlier on I mentioned that LPM is saying that they want to focus on educational initiatives to address GBV, particularly in schools and universities. They want to target young men and have programs that emphasize changing sexist behaviors and promoting gender equality among young men, or rather gender equity among young men.
There has
and
to
boys.
be more awareness.
Yes.
I don't think there's enough awareness.
Yes, the party has even hosted workshops and discussions to raise awareness and combat GBV. And then, of course, LPM say they are integrating the fight against GBV into broader policy and advocacy efforts for societal inclusion and equity. So yes, but
still the practical solutions.
Still the practical solutions.
Awareness is good, it's wonderful, but we have to have practical solutions, safe houses. Even, I have to say, I was in a court in Otjiwarongo, and that was like, I think, really 14, 15 years ago, when where they have for the rape victims, especially the minors, a special room where they could feel safe, and they have some, you know, some dolls to play with, and just feel safe and not be in court and face their perpetrator.
Yes.
So these are the practical things we have to focus on.
Yes.
And I think it should be the same with GBV. I don't want, even if I'm a woman, a grown woman, I don't ever want to see the man who hit me or raped me. I don't want to see him ever, because it's traumatic.
Very true. And just to then tie it to the reproductive rights. Okay. So the fact that rape victims are allowed to terminate a pregnancy, I think that in itself says a lot. Because
Yes,
if you,
it does.
again, go on social media, and my apologies for bringing this back to the American election, but that's what they were fighting for.
Oh, yes, that was a big thing in the
That
American
was a big
election.
thing in the American election, because what do you mean that I have to carry this child to term when it's a result of
when
rape?
it's the child of someone I hate,
Yes.
who harmed me, who caused me bodily harm, psychological harm.
Yes.
Will I love this child?
Exactly. Because then what happens then? And even just the ability to terminate a pregnancy, should there be complications with the pregnancy? I think that's one of those things whereby we tend to take for granted.
We do.
We tend to take for granted. So yes, reproductive rights are a very sensitive topic.
But I don't think we discuss this enough. We don't discuss. We are not where the USA or Europe is. We don't discuss this much because it's a stigma. It's a shame.
Exactly.
And we have to talk more about it.
We do have to speak more about it, because again, like we're saying, these are things that are actually happening.
It's happening,
and a lot of these victims don't feel safe. And I don't think a lot of these victims actually know that they have this option.
And I don't think all of them know, because how many, we hear about teachers raping children. And then the next thing it's, the mother said, oh, my daughter is pregnant, and now it's too late. It's too late. She's only showing she's pregnant like at 6 months or so. Then it's too late.
Yes, I do agree. But anyway, for now, let's just switch over to the Omaheke region and see what Elaine Smith has for us.
I'm here at Khobabis Municipality Head Office, where I'm voting my voice today. I am telling all the youth to come and vote, because this is our Namibia. We have to make my voice is here today. There are those that want to go back because it's a rhyme, but they must come and vote, because your vote counts. So I'm encouraging every Namibian today, let's vote.
That was Elaine Smith giving us, I think that was a voter, you know. That was Elaine Smith in the Omaheke region.
It's Ilani's there, Ilani Smith, yeah. And oh my goodness, she was so excited to go to the Omaheke region. So can we see some statistics?
Yes. Actually, we'll take a look at the Omaheke statistics to see, you know, back from the 2019.
Yeah.
We take a look at the 2019 results, and then we'll, of course, also take a look at the number of registered voters in the Omaheke region. So as you can see there, SWAPO with 12,391. Well, the total registered voters were 23,198, and SWAPO took 12,391 of those. NUDO 3,899.
Interesting. NUDO was the party with the second most votes, and not BDM. NUDO has a very strong stronghold in Omaheke. So let's see if this will happen this year too.
We're gonna be taking a look, you know, and keeping a close eye on it. And then of course NPF was all the way in 15th with only 66 votes. All right, so and then let's take a look at how many registered voters we have. So it's 47,000.
Yes, but
that's almost double.
Yes, it's double, so it's 85.35%, which is not bad. But it's the least. It's
also a huge leap from 2019.
It's a huge leap, yeah.
Yes. All right, now let's cross on over to the Oshikoto region with Aldo Horn.
So today I came here at around 5:30, and then the occasion only started. We only started voting around now 7, but we are still waiting. The queue, as you can see, the queue is long. If you can just show the queue, how the queue is. Because I think next on the next elections, we need to do better. So you can see the population has grown, and a lot of people are coming out in numbers, want to vote. So next time they should just do better. You know, we see the previous elections, United States elections, and you see how the population of America is huge. And then those people, they were really, really fast, as you have seen. So we just want them to do better. Mostly to the youth. I'm more concerned with the youth. It's very important for us to come out in numbers. As you can see, most of the people here, they are the youth. To vote for their own candidate, for their own party that they prefer. It's very important things. This is the future of our country. So without this future, then this country is not going to be in a good, organized manner. So we just want people to come.
That was Aldo Horn in the Oshikoto region. Yes. So back in 2019, there was a total of 72,948 total registered voters. Again, SWAPO taking 56,083 of those. PDM again second with 8,694, and in third was LPM 1,340. So that's an important number to note. Total registered was 72,948. Let's take a look at this year's election and the total registered voters. It is 110,742. As I was saying that, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, me too. And it's like 86.78%. That is amazing. This is what but we want that turnout.
We do want that turnout. I'm just glad that these numbers are actually going up. We're not seeing a decline.
It's not a decline.
In the number of total registered voters.
News.
It is absolutely good news. I think this just shows that people are taking this seriously.
And it shows you that the political culture is growing.
Yes, definitely.
And that's good.
Definitely. And I think also particularly the young ones.
Yes, it's because it's the young ones now that are going to vote.
Going to vote. So
yes.
It's beautiful to see. But after this, we're actually going to be getting coverage from Rundu with Nicanor Nangolo. He's actually covering the Kavango West and the Kavango East regions. Nicanor, how are you doing? Nicanor, are you able to hear me? All right, it seems we're facing a bit of technical glitch there. We'll try again a little later, but it's going to be Nicanor Nangolo. He's going to be giving us updates as they come. We'll be right back right after this.
AfriWallet makes managing your money easier than ever. With instant secure payments, including through WhatsApp, you're always connected. Stay informed with real-time notifications for every payment. Say goodbye to extra costs. There are no transaction fees. Manage multiple accounts in one place, whether personal or family. Want to give back? Support causes with just a few taps. And with WhatsApp integration, checking balances and accessing QR codes is effortless. AfriWallet, your gateway to a cashless, seamless financial future.
At Network Sport Hub, we offer more than sports broadcasting. From pre-game promos on social media and print to seamless ticketing through AfriWallet and e-ticket, we deliver an integrated fan experience. On game day, we broadcast live on NTV and oneup2.com, sharing real-time highlights. Post-game, we keep fans engaged with interviews, analysis, and full match replays. We go beyond the game to create unforgettable sports moments. So much more than just sports.
Election Watch 2024 is where you're at, and I am now joined by Mr. Sport himself, the digital sport journalist of the year, Brian Munango. How are you doing?
That's a wonderful introduction, Dino Masters. Thank you so much for that.
I was practicing it in the mirror last night.
No, but I can't complain. I'm good. I'm excited.
You're excited?
And we're looking forward to the whole day, I should say.
Yes. Okay. So what time are you going to be voting?
Hopefully when we're done.
Okay.
We still have shows to produce.
Yes.
We still have the elections that are going on. So as soon as I get a break in between
then
I'm
you're going
gone.
to go. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Brian, because you are Mr. Sport, it's only right that we talk all things sport, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So how would you describe the current state of sports in Namibia today, and what key challenges do athletes and organizations face today?
If we're speaking of challenges, I would like to tackle challenges first. I would say in most of the small sports in Namibia, we're doing really well. We're flourishing. We're getting the results out. For example, if you take a look at the hockey team, the men's team is most probably the best team in Africa after beating South Africa at the African Cup competition earlier during the year. Our women are rated second, and they lost in the final to SA's women. So we do have that. And then you look at other sports like Paralympics. We have Lache Azitila, who took a gold medal, broke the record at the Paralympic Games. So in the small sports, we're doing really well. But if you look at the sports where there's a lot of administration needed and a lot of work needed, for example, let's say football, number one. Football has to be our biggest issue. The NFA is spending tons and tons of money for the team to play in South Africa because we can't play in our own stadiums. So imagine paying for accommodation, transport just to go play in South Africa, having to rent out the stadium, which costs about 10 million per match. It's somewhere close to those figures. So it's not looking wonderful. So we're looking forward to see if after the elections we get some change and we get things moving in a way where athletes can at least turn professional or get a few contracts where they can get in a bit of money, have a fixed life, and not having to work 8 to 5 and then have to go train.
Because I think that severely affects the athlete's performance. The fact that you have an 8 to 5, you still have to go for training, and then you still have these games. It's a lot.
It really is.
It's a lot. I think we can really see how much it negatively impacts athletes' performances. So in the election manifestos that you've seen, which political parties have made significant commitment to sports development?
Cool. I think SWAPO is up there.
Okay.
SWAPO is up there because in their manifestos, they speak of dedicating around $6.9 billion just to sports for the year 2025, and that could be massive for sports, and sports could gain a lot from that, especially if we look at football. I think I had a chat with the Deputy Minister, Mr. Makatema Gwamas, earlier during the year, and we spoke about the fact that we are so quick to judge. For example, the Brave Warriors, a team that made it to the finals, to the knockout stages of the AFCON tournament for the first time, and then lost in the COSAFA competition, got knocked out, but everyone was quick to jump and point fingers and all of that. But remember, this is a team where 80% of these guys work an 8 to 5 job, and when they knock off, then they get to training, and then after training, then so
it's exactly what I was saying. Like even the fact that they have to travel, that also puts a toll on the athlete's body.
Yes,
because you're fighting jet lag, you're fighting exhaustion. There's a lot that comes into play when it comes to an athlete's performance.
Yes.
Because they're trying their best to do the strength and the conditioning and everything that they need to ensure a solid performance. Why are you smiling? Is it because I know sport?
It's wonderful how you speak of sports. But yeah, like you said, from 8 to 5 and then having to jump into training, you can't do all of that and still expect to perform at the highest level.
At the highest level, exactly. Yes. So are there any specific policies or proposals that stand out for improving sports infrastructure or funding? Because I think that is one of the key issues, sports infrastructure.
Yes, there are some, like we heard heard earlier during, I think a month ago, where we heard from MICT that the contract for the renovation of the Independence Stadium is underway. So they are now looking for someone who can take that tender and start doing renovation on that stadium. So I think we can expect that to happen somewhere maybe middle next year.
Okay.
So we can look forward to that starting at least. The most important thing is we need start.
Yes.
Yes. So we
Definitely.
did. They also just found out recently what the problem is with the Independence Stadium, not Independence, but the Sam Nujoma Stadium in Soweto. So that also they now know the problems. We just need to see money being put in, those stadiums getting renovated, and then the biggest part for me is professional contracts.
Yes.
In the sports, like we did see with cricket. Namibia is doing it really well. For the first time, the women's team they are now contracted. They're getting paid. With the men's team, we know that they are getting paid. They are contracted. So if we see more of that, I think sports will start to flourish because we do have the talent in Namibia.
We do.
We all do know this.
We do, because you know what the thing is, Brian, we do need to change this whole perspective of just, because people are talented in different fields and different categories. Not everyone is destined to be a doctor. Not everyone is destined to be a lawyer.
Yes.
Right? There are some people that are just talented when it comes to sport. But then growing up, we were always told that we cannot do sport because it doesn't pay well. That's what we've always been told. But we'll continue this discussion just after this, because right now we're going to be crossing over to Ogeto Greg, who is in the Hardap region. Let's see what's going on down there.
Voting is going well here in Marintal at Dani Joubert old hostels, where the collation station and a voting center is set up. People have been queuing here since 4 o'clock in the morning. I arrived at 6:30 and it's almost 8:30 now. Already by 8:30 people had finished voting, and the mood is relaxed and jovial. The queues are orderly. Things are moving smoothly. There's police presence, and the voting officials are continuing to see to the voters one by one. There have been no problems here today yet, and I hope to be able to cast my own vote in time to finish the rest of my work. Namibia, go ahead and vote. Thank you.
Ogeto there in the Hardap region. I think we're going to be saying this throughout the day, that people are showing up. People really are excited to place their vote on that ballot paper. And it's exciting to see. But Brian, we were talking all things sport earlier on. So let's talk historically.
Yes.
Right. What role has the government played so far in supporting sports, and how could this develop after the elections?
If we take it down, if we take it back in history, we can definitely say that the government has put in money in sports and making sure that the development is there. Because if you look at the number of, let's start with the young ones. If we look at the under-18s, the under-18 team back in, I think, 2018, 2020, the first team to win the COSAFA tournament, they put in so much money in the training development, or the development programs, the training programs that they did have early on, to make sure that the teams were ready to go compete, and they showed up and the teams won, and we did really well at the competition. So if we look at how the government has done so far, they have done really well. The money has been put in the right places, and we've come out with wonderful results, like the likes of Christine Boma winning awards, the likes of Masilingi, and then we look at teams like the rugby team that has been participating at the rugby competitions over and over again. So money has been put in and the results have been coming out. So I think we did touch on the stadiums, but a few more things that need to be touched on apart from personal contracts has to be that money has to be put in the right places.
Yes,
because
that
for
is
me,
key.
For me, Diana, if you think about it, one of the big issues I have is, for example, the COSAFA, the AFCON team. I'm going to specifically touch on the AFCON team. This team went to Ivory Coast to participate in the competition. But the problem we have is we end up sending a number of people, like let's say 52, to go to Ivory Coast. While out of those 52, it's only 22 players, and let's say 6 technical or 6 staff members part of the coaching staff.
And
the rest of the people, what are we doing?
What are they
there?
doing?
Why are we going with?
Yes.
That's, I think, the biggest problem that we do have is money doesn't get spent wisely in most cases. So, for example, the Olympics, we maybe have only 4 athletes that are going, and you will find out we have 40 or 20 people that are there. Why are the people there? for what matters. So I think, they just need to take a look at that and invest the money in the right places, give the money to the right people. Don't always send a crowd, or don't always try to go with just for the fact of going with. And I think that will do well.
There was a meme trending on social media when Zimbabwe went to the Olympics. They sent 4 athletes with a whole bunch of other people, you know. So it's just, I guess that's how it is with African sport, and that's one of the things we need to take a look at.
Yes,
like
we have
you're
to.
saying, why are we traveling with such a large group? Do we actually need these
all these people there?
Yes, because also quality over quantity, right?
Yes.
I think that counts. If you have an extremely talented coaching or technical staff, then you're not going to need all these other people.
Yes.
Because if anything, you're taking out of the pocket of those people that should be there.
And putting it into people that are just going to be there to just
the moral support.
And we don't need that. There is no
Yes.
time for moral support. Unless it's here at home, it's 100% fine. But if we have to travel far, an S&T has to be paid out. There's a lot of money that ends up going out. And sometimes it's unnecessary because not all those people need to go with.
Exactly. All right. So earlier on, we were talking about how growing up, we were told certain careers are just a side hustle or a hobby.
Yes.
For example, in the arts and even in sport. Because yes, we do know that sport is a limited career.
It is.
You can only play sport for so long, you know, as
After
much
40,
as the body allows.
after 30, the body starts
the
not
body
allowing.
starts not allowing, you know, it starts catching up. But then even for that brief period, people cannot really look towards a career in sport, for example, here in Namibia. Because like you're saying, people still have to work 8 to 5.
People still have to work 8 to 5.
People still need money. And that's why a lot of the times, most of this talent is actually shipped out abroad because they see, okay, you know what, if I can play in the Premier League, then I'm better off there because then I can focus on what I love. I can perfect my craft. Whereas if I'm here, I still have to do all these other things.
On top of what I already do, and then you guys expect me to perform at the biggest level, and then you guys, it really...
see now. So what do you think then in terms of that? Of course, we did speak about contracts, but what else can be done so that we start viewing sport as a viable career?
Okay, I think to start off with, the biggest thing, apart from contracts, is grassroots level. I think we do not have enough grassroots level programs where, like you said, kids sometimes, you at an early age, you already know sometimes, look, I'm not meant for this. I don't want to do this. I want to focus on this. But for example, you want to get into cricket and you stay in Omaruru. That already puts you at a disadvantage because there's no way where you can go learn and practice the
even
basics.
afford the equipment.
Yes. To now get into the sport and try and learn and better yourself in the same sport. And then try and take it professional, you know. There's not enough of that. And also, the scouting systems are working well. I think those have been doing really well. But for scouting systems to work, for players to get sent out and go play out of Namibia, we need to have a league in place. For example, the Marine Premiership that was stopped for a very long time. It was supposed to restart earlier in November. It didn't. It will only restart now as we're edging to this coming weekend. So if you look at that, if we do have things in place like grassroots level development programs, and if we focus on having consistency. I think consistency is very important for us because we do not have that. So consistency where we have local leagues and local players get to play in the leagues, that also now allows for scouts to come to Namibia. I think this is the year where we have the most Namibian players playing in South Africa, playing in clubs in South Africa, which is very good for us because they get to play professional football. They get to bring all that back to Namibia, and then when the national team gets together, it gives Colin Benjamin, guys like Colin Benjamin, the chances to now scout or use the players because you know now these guys play in bigger leagues. The same with rugby. We have a few guys that play in France in the top leagues. We have a few guys that play in the likes of South Africa. But all of that can only continue if we stay consistent with what we're doing. Let's say the domestic leagues have to continue, like our netball. Apologies for that. Netball is doing fantastically well in Namibia with how they are so consistent with having the league play in Namibia. But with the likes of football and the likes of cricket, like the consistency is not there. So number one, consistency, we also have to take a look at that, I think.
And I think it's absolutely important that you did mention grassroots level. That is crucial. It's a critical part because again, how are we going to nurture this talent if we don't know it exists? You know, how
Yes.
many of these children are actually talented, but we're letting that talent go to waste because, again, they're not in the regions that are deemed fit for specific sports.
Yes.
You know, because, again, many of these children, some rather, excuse me, are at a disadvantage because they don't have the right equipment, they don't have the funds. So what are people doing to actually support these children at a grassroots level? How can we then get these children to actually love sport, and how can we as the adults in this situation help out the children to nurture their development and their love for sport? Yeah.
I think it gets difficult, Diana, because like you mentioned earlier, having to try and convince someone to get into sport while you know it doesn't pay.
Exactly. You see now.
Yeah, it's like you giving someone a knife and sending them to war.
Exactly.
And telling them go in and fight that war.
Go in
you
and
know.
fight.
So it's a big fight. It's really a big fight. And with this year's election, hopefully the parties come to the party and we get more out of sport, because I'm sure everyone has seen the potential that Namibia has when it comes to sports, because we have grabbed big medals at international events. Lakia Isitile, gold medalist at the Paralympic Games. And the cricket teams that also did well at the Africa Cup. So the potential is there, it just needs to be turned into more than just potential.
Yeah. So, Brian, what would you say are the top 3 priorities for the incoming government to enhance sports in Namibia?
That's a very good question. Top 3?
Yes.
Priorities?
Yes, top 3 priorities for the incoming government.
And face stadiums.
Yes.
I think that's on top of. I think that's where the pressure lies.
I think that's like at the tip of your tongue. Everybody's tongue is like stadiums. We need stadiums.
Whenever anything is being brought up, I think that's the first thing. Independence Stadium needs the renovation. It needs to uphold international standards. Sam Nujoma Stadium, same. I think that one has been now off for a longer period of time. So I think that's most probably the number 1 objective. And then what Cricket Namibia is doing that is really good is grassroots level programs that they are starting in different small regions. Like they just did now. I think they opened one in Walvis Bay not long ago, one in Windhoek, and they're trying to spread and just be everywhere. So I think another one is that one of the things that they should look at is definitely grassroots level programs that should be started in small towns where kids can also just have the chance to perfect the art, or to just at least have a chance to work on what they want to do. That would be the second one. And then
sorry, Brian, I'm just gonna have to pause for a split second there, because again, grassroots level is absolutely important. I can't tell you the number of times I've blamed my mom because I'm like, why did you not put me in ballet class? You know, so at least put the children in so they see what they like. We're not saying every child is a top star athlete or whatever it is, but give them that chance to explore.
At least, yes.
At least.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I think this one, the
Mula
ching
mula.
The ching ching.
Yes.
That one is, I think, coming into 2025, objectives of the government has to be professional contracts. I cannot stress that enough. I think let's get the players that are trying to work and then have to train and then work. Get them out of work, especially those that can. Get them out of work, give them wonderful contracts, and then these guys dedicate themselves to just training and just dedicate themselves to that job. And I'm sure we'll see wonderful results from sports in Namibia.
Okay, so how do you see sports influencing Namibia's national identity, especially during this election period?
How do I see sports influencing? Like in terms of putting us on the map?
Yes, in terms of putting us on the map, and then just in general.
I think sports has the power to bring people together. Number one, I think sports, it's one of the only things, maybe because I love sports so much, I'm involved in sports so much, I think it's one of the biggest things that bring people together.
Yes.
Look, if you look at last year, Namibia was known for having the best striker in Africa, when Peter Shalulile was still firing goals for Mamelodi Sundowns. So that put us on the map. Everyone knew about Namibia. Currently, most of the countries are not happy with Namibia because the story came out that Namibia was part of the 4 countries that didn't vote for Vinicius Jr. to win the Ballon d'Or.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the president of Real Madrid, he came out with a statement saying, if Namibia and Finland, I think we were 3 countries, us, Finland, I don't remember who the third party was, but if the 3 of us chose to vote for Vinicius Jr.,
yes,
he would have won the Ballon d'Or.
Oh my goodness.
You understand?
Yes.
So that already puts us in a situation where a lot of people know about us.
Yes.
And I think the most, how sports can put Namibia on the map, or how we can benefit a lot from sports, is hosting tournaments. Hosting a lot of tournaments. If we can get our stadium, you guys will be hearing the stadium statement a lot, but if we get one stadium up to standard, imagine we host a game with a team like, let's say, Senegal, with the likes of Mane.
Oh my goodness.
Or let's say Egypt and the likes of Salah.
Oh my
and
goodness.
they have to come play in an independent stadium. Just imagine how big
The
and how
pride.
much money
And
that
even
would
just
bring
the
in for
pride
the,
for the country. Like, I'm getting goosebumps as I say this, but while my goosebumps calm down, let's take a look at Philippus Joseph, who's in the Kavango East region. Let's see what he's getting up to there.
My name is Bonifacius Mushongo, the presiding officer for Divundu Fixed Polling Station in the Mukwe constituency of the Kavango region. So yesterday we were at the police station to receive our materials. We overnighted at the polling station, and the people started queuing already as early as 6 o'clock. Just before we opened to prepare the polling station, there was already a queue of up to between 20 and 30 people in the queue. So now the queue is getting longer and longer because Divundu is the biggest center in this Mukwe, being a place being developed into a town. So I hope this polling station will receive the most voters than in other polling station.
You're still with Election Watch as hashtag Namibia decides 2024. And right now we're talking all things sports and elections with Brian Munango. We're talking earlier on about just how much pride we would get if such a huge game was to be played in the country. Because you know what? A lot of the times I still have some nostalgic feelings from that time when the World Cup was in South Africa. That was what? 14 years ago?
14 years ago, yes.
14 years ago. But still, I'm not even South African, but I was like, oh my God, it's Africa. It's,
wow.
It's
Africa,
home.
It's Southern Africa,
us.
it's home.
Yes. So now imagine if we were to do that in Namibia.
I think I'm not even getting goosebumps. I'm just very excited for the fact that, look, just think, hopefully we do get there. I'm not saying we will get there next year. I don't see it happening next year. I at least see it starting next year.
It's a process.
It's a process, yes. Yeah. But like if you look at, we all...
Election Watch 2024 is where you are at. You are joined by Diana Master and Brian Munango, and we're talking all things sport during this crucial time as hashtag Namibia decides 2024. Yes, Brian.
Okay, so Diana, we didn't finish our story.
Yeah.
We're still busy with the fact that having stadiums in Namibia can bring in so much for Namibia, jobs-wise, tourist-wise, and all of that. So like we said, remember, I'm going to take you down in memory lane. Remember when Chula Chula came through?
Yes.
The hype was around Chula Chula,
yes.
and we had that game against African Stars at the Agegengop Stadium. So the stadium was filled to the brim for the first time in a very, very long time. So if you look at how football, and to be honest, I think football is the only sport that can do that to a stadium, get it back to the brim. So imagine Egypt. We renovate our stadium, it's done. Next year's qualifiers, we have interesting games. So in the qualifiers, we have maybe, let's say, Cameroon that come to Namibia, the likes of Vincent Abubakar that have played at World Cups before, all come to Namibia to come play a game. Just imagine how.
And it's not just for sport. It also boosts tourism because people are going to come, people are going to fly in to watch this game. But back to that whole stadium conversation, Brian. Would you say, of course, we would need to start with just one, but ideally, how many stadiums would we need?
At least 5.
At least 5 world-class stadiums.
Yes, at least 5.
What does world-class entail?
Okay, world-class means a perfect pitch, number one. Secondly, a broadcast or a stadium that can that can equip a lot of cameras for
Yes.
broadcasting. Number two, and then just seats. Seats are very important. I think one of the reasons why we struggle to get accredited internationally is because we have stadiums that cannot estimate how many people can sit there, because it's just
benches, just slabs of concrete.
Yes, just slabs of concrete, and you can't make out how many people
Can
are going to
actually
sit there.
fit
And
there.
already that's like a red flag. People need to know how much money does this stadium make. So, for example, if Hagegengop Stadium hosts an event and we have football players showing up, the stadium is packed. We are saying it's packed, but we do not know how many people are there, because more than half of the seats we can't account for how many people are sitting there. So I think that's one thing that will have to be looked at, number one.
And I think even that as well, just to avoid things like stampedes and overcrowding.
Yes.
Once we actually have seats and we can see, okay, this is the amount of people that the stadium can take. And then also utilizing those stadiums, not just for sport, but for other international events as well.
Yes. So you see, like you said, it's really not just about sports. There's more to it than just sports. Like you said, there's tourism that can be involved. Job creation is definitely one of the big things. And not to mention, Ongos announced earlier that they're building the $3 to $5 billion stadium. So that's already in the works. I think they are set to start somewhere next year, and it should be like a 4 or 5 year ongoing thing. But that stadium, I'm sure you saw. I don't know if you saw the blueprint.
Development plan, yes.
But at least 4 or 5 of those, and then we should be
We'll
be
be
good.
sorted.
We'll be good. Trust
We'll
me.
be sorted.
We'll see the likes of Argentina coming for friendlies, maybe even the likes of Messi, maybe. But yeah, I think 5 would do us good.
Because you see, I was going to talk about how our population puts us at a disadvantage. Because we're only, 3 million people?
Only 3.
So, yes, I get that there may be that whole thing of, no, but why should we build 5 stadiums for only 3 million people? But like you're saying, then now we have all these other friendlies, international friendlies.
Yes.
We have people come in. Namibia is already a hotspot for tourism.
Yes.
People love Namibia. People love coming to Namibia. So now imagine these sports fans coming to Namibia just to watch, you know what, it's Argentina. Just casually, you just say,
Watching
Argentina play in Namibia. That would be unheard of.
No,
and
it would be.
People would travel from everywhere to come and see, because again, it's not just the game and you go. You get to explore all of Namibia's tourism spots.
So there's a lot of money that can come in regards to stadiums being built and all of that. But one of the biggest things as well is, I think the NFA never, for example, the NFA, they don't grasp or they don't get the money out of events that they do host. Let's look at the Demarine Premiership. Like I said, for example, the Ongos and Chula Chula game. If I tell you there were 10,000 people, who are you to argue with me?
Exactly. I cannot.
You cannot.
I cannot.
Because if a stadium has seats, let's say we have 12,000 seats and we had 6,000 people, you only made 6,000 because the rest of the
seats were not
empty.
filled. Yeah.
So, but yeah, looking at that and to conclude, I just think a few more stadiums. If we can't get 5 is maybe a stretch. But we already have 3, so they just need to renovate those.
Those 3.
Build the Ongos is 4, and then another one. Then we have 5.
Not you already having the plan in place. Okay, but Brian, how can voters then hold political parties accountable for the promises they make regarding sports in Namibia? Because we have heard a lot of promises.
That's Diana. That's a very good question. Honestly, I hear you, but holding them accountable is one thing that Namibians don't do enough.
Yes.
Holding people accountable for certain situations. If something happens,
at home.
Yes.
We complain at home, and that's about it.
I'll come to you and be like, Diana, but then they said,
Yes.
So to answer that question, that's going to be a tough one because looking at how we Namibians are, is we are quick to complain about something, but no one does anything about anything. So at the end of the day, the story just dies.
Yes, it fizzles out. It dies a natural death.
Yeah, we'll talk about it to each other, but then it ends there.
It ends there. Then we hear some more promises of the next election period, and then we get excited again, and then nothing happens, and it's like, but Brian, we complain.
Yeah. So
what do you? Okay, you as Brian, how would you then? I know you're only one person, but you know what they say, one person can make a difference. It starts with you, and then everybody else follows suit.
I think the only way would be to maybe, let's say, if the promises are not honored, we need to have a sit down. Yes. With the parties responsible for this promises and not living up to promises. People have to have an official sit down, invite the right parties, invite the right federations, and then ask the questions. And then ask, you guys said by October you would have this and this in place.
Where is it?
Why is it not in place yet?
What is the progress?
What is the progress? Tell us what's going on. I don't think, like we said, I don't think people ask enough questions. So I think the best way to do it is tell the party to just give a representative or have a representative from that party who can speak on their behalf. And then you just choose a few people who are involved in sports or who have the power to do something in sports or change something. Ask the valid questions.
And I think also just asking the public in general, because a lot of the times these decisions are made behind the scenes and then we just hear, so this is the plan. But if we actually, for example, ask the players themselves, the athletes themselves, how can we help you? You know, things like that. I think that would then actually help, instead of just having unnecessary things put into place. Then we actually know, okay, this is what we need.
Yeah.
Because as an athlete, it doesn't help that you give me something that I don't need. It's like, it's good for aesthetics, yay, but
it's
for
not what I
me,
need.
it's not what I need,
It's
exactly.
probably just a want. And I think you've stressed that really well, Diana, that ask the players, ask the guys who are involved in what's happening to tell you what they want, and then you walk from there.
Even the coaches, what do the coaches need? I had an interview with Gareth, who is actually from Finto, I forget now, but he's basically a the English is not doing what it needs to do, but yeah, basically he is a kind of but we'll move on from that. But basically, he does travel with, especially the brave warriors, right? He's a kineticist. There we go.
Ooh, you got it. You got it out.
Yes, I got it. I got it out. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So basically, he's traveling with the teams. I think he traveled with the brave warriors. And he was actually saying that a lot of the times, the reason, like, he actually can help the teams a lot and the players a lot. But there's not enough money because this is expensive. They need certain therapies, they need certain, like, even if it's shoes or boots or whatever it is, he does ice baths, things like that. Things that the athletes actually need for recovery of their bodies. But then because a lot of the players actually can't afford, and also because the government is not injecting enough money into this.
Because they maybe also feel, do you really need a massage after the game?
It's
do you
not
need
necessary.
Therapy?
Yes,
you know,
but we'll continue this right after this, because right now, Octavia Tibes has given us an update of what's happening in the Irongo and Kunene regions.
My name is Elias Kandi, the presiding officer of mobile team MO 704812. Currently I'm at Chamamas. We opened the polling station at 7 o'clock this morning. The people are coming, they are voting. Currently we are not having experienced any problems. And from here we are going to the next polling station, which is Ace Hout. From there we will proceed to the next one, which is Kainam Sep, and then from there we go to Karaha Ams. So it's where we are going to end our pollings.
Octavia Tibes there just having a talk with some people, with some voters, and she's reporting from the Irongo and Kunene regions. So Brian, back to what I was saying, like for example, the biokineticists, because again, they ensure that the players' bodies perform well, and they recover and they perform well. Because again, it's always crucial, even when you're exercising, you're told you can't exercise for 7 days a week because you do need those recovery periods. Because whenever you're working out something, you are tearing the muscle. So you need
to give them some time off.
Yes, to give them recovery time. And then recovery time is not just because, again, yes, you work out in a gym, but then these are athletes that are expected to perform at a national level. Yes. And so basically what he was saying was that that's one of the ways that the government can actually help, by investing in things like biokineticists. Because then they actually tell the players how they can recover their bodies properly. Because it's not just what you know. Because, okay, for example, you'd be told, no, just go rest. But instead what you need is an ice bath, or you need heat compression.
Or you need a massage.
A massage, exactly.
By someone that just knows what they're doing.
Exactly. So things like that. And you were really just now telling me about how in the Premier League, they have psychologists.
Yes, it's really big. I think one of the things moving into 2025 that the government should focus on, like you said, is it's not just about what they do on the field and what they do off the field. It's more than just that. In the Premier League, a lot of strikers, a lot of players, even if one is injured, let's say you tear your ACL and you're most probably out for 10 months, there's a psychologist that's going to talk you through it, because it most probably definitely
it plays on your mental health.
Yeah, because you're off for all this 10 months now, and then let's say you're a wonderful striker, you've been scoring every second, every third game, and then you go on a spell of 10, 15 games where you're just not scoring. It's just not working out for you. And that's why they have psychologists for that.
Because also, even when you do return, you're not the same person you were 10 months ago.
You are not the same.
Because again, you even have that fear. People are going to like me?
Am I going to play the same position? Am I going to be okay?
Am I going to be in the starting lineup? Probably not. But back then I was in the starting lineup. So really, and again, that psyche also plays on how you perform on the pitch, on the field, on the track, wherever it is. So I think things like this are really what we need to tackle. Like I was saying, talk to the players, talk to the athletes, find out what they need, not what you think they need. Because again, yes, it does seem like a privilege to go to a biokineticist. But it's not. It's a necessity.
It is. It's not just for fun and cute, because now you have these patches on you to check how you're breathing.
I would love to have patches just to say.
Or to check your breathing and stuff like that. It's really not for fun. I mean, these things are there for a reason, and this would help players and athletes a lot. And I think we'd see people perform way better. Look, with the likes of, what's the girl's name now? Christine Boma.
Yes.
Christine Boma's career right now,
on a trajectory.
You know?
Yeah.
It's things like that. Namibia, we won't focus on her mental health in a situation like that. Everyone would be like, she's getting injured. Get the right coach for her. What's wrong with her?
What's wrong with her?
Look deep. It's most probably not just the injury. Most probably herself in her head, she's like, okay, is there still hope for me to get back on the track? Do I still have a chance of winning a silver or a gold medal? She's still very young. So investing in things like where you not only focus on the body but also the mind.
Yes, because the mind plays an important role. Look at Naomi Osaka. She had to step away for a bit because she wasn't in the right headspace. But again, this then brings us back to that conversation where it's mental health in the African household. It's in a way taboo. People are now starting to change that.
Yes.
But for a while, what do you mean you have mental health issues?
What is that?
What is that? You see things like that. It's not something that is normal. So I think now we also need to start understanding that even for athletes, their mental health is just as important as their physical health.
Yes. Yes, and Diana, while you've said that, so looking at 2025, I think the government, those are one of the biggest things that need to be tackled. It's not only just the stadiums, although we've been speaking about the stadiums.
Forever and a day.
It's not just the contracts, but it's also mental health. It's also getting a massage after a match. It's also getting an ice bath. Although it looks nice and rested, it's really well deserved, and it goes a long way.
It goes a long way. Because we will be talking about stadiums even when we return, let's just give you a break from listening to us complain and go on about stadiums. Let's see what Tiemo Haidula, who is in the Oshana region, is up to. She's actually going to be talking to Job Ampanda.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very excited, more so to vote at home with my grandmother. She wanted to come in the morning very early. She wakes up very early in the morning, usually. It's always the first one to be up, and so I'm very happy to be here. Firstly, to be able to vote at home, and to see many young people, most of them that we grew up with, voting for whoever it is that they're voting. Our village is very diverse, very pluralistic. In fact, we even have my neighbor is on another parliamentary list. We grew up together, and quite a very interesting, diverse political views. So I'm very happy to have casted my vote here, and I think it's very important for every citizen to participate and do this, and particularly for the young people. They always say that unantanda kuna ngobe unampagona kunija. Me parliament in all those places, there's no Mpagona, there's no Ntanda. So to see young people participating both as voters and also as candidates, even for president, So everyone now knows that it's okay, it's normal for a young person to run for president. So there's nothing to be fearful of. And so we're very happy. My wife is also here. We decided to come and vote at home.
Tiemo Haidula there in the Oshana, Umsati and Kunene regions, giving us feed of Job Amopanda casting his vote.
Well, look, let me, before I also have a show to script and get ready for, I think the sports ref show still has to be produced.
Yes.
But look, what are your thoughts on this year's election based on any other? For me, I feel like this year it has this good feel to it, if I'm not mistaken. Or this, let me say, a lot of people are involved more.
More
this
people
year,
are involved. More
and
people.
I like to see that.
More people are realizing how important it is to vote, because I think back then people had that perception of, oh no, but my vote doesn't count, and what difference am I going to make? I'm just one person. But then if it's you and 300 other people that have the same mentality, and as one of my colleagues, Aina, says, that you not exercising your right to vote is giving that party that you don't want to win that extra vote. You know, so it's important that you actually put your voice on that paper, because then again, we are doing this for us, not for anybody else.
Yes.
Because our future is quite literally in our hands now.
Now we're at that point where it's really all in our hands. And I drove around Windhoek earlier today, and what I saw, wow, polling stations, it's just a lot of people. The youth are there. So very excited for what the election holds, I think.
The election holds. So now here in the Comas region, Hinarue Rishatua is going to be giving us some feed. Let's take a look.
Yeah, this is Kefa Sushona. I'm the presiding officer for Hainyeko Hall Hall B. Since we are having two teams in this hall, we have Hainyeko Hall A and Hainyeko Hall B. So I'm a responsible presiding officer for Hainyeko Hall B. We started the poll, we opened our poll at exactly 7 o'clock. So far, we have helped close to 90 people already, and we actually prioritize the old people and also people with that are living with disabilities. And then we actually have two queues: people with disabilities and also the people that don't have any disabilities. So we actually make sure that each queue moves. So far, everything goes well. There's no complications. Everything went very well.
Well, that was a wonderful update from Hinaware. I think we also still have another update from Tuyemo Haidula, and she is, of course, in the Musat region, so please do stay tuned.
Now everybody to come out and come and vote, because only through voting that our voice will be heard. We have been for too long denied this opportunity, but after independence we are awarded this opportunity. Therefore, we just encourage Namibians to come out in thousands and then cast their votes. Why we have to cast our vote? Because we are determining the future of our children, the future of this country and its economic activities. Only through voting that we are able now to make changes that our people need, and at the same time also to give them opportunity to choose the leaders of their choice. I think I'm encouraging everybody to come, and all Namibians, wherever they found themselves, this is the day. Let us come out and then cast our votes.
That was Tuyemo Haidula giving us some feed from the governor, who was urging people to go out and vote, because it is absolutely important to exercise your democratic right.
When are you voting? I don't think we spoke about that. we asked me.
We asked you when you're voting.
And we found out when I'm voting. I said whenever I get a break. Did anyone find out when Diana?
Ditto. When you go, you take me with.
Will you come with?
I'll come with.
Okay.
I'll come with, and then we can walk around with the ink on our hands, like matchy.
Well, let's do that.
Because then I'll just be there, you know, the whole day, just. So as I was saying,
Yeah,
you know,
like,
just to show people,
you guys
like
okay,
I voted. What about you? I saw one of my colleagues posted today, like, so you people that don't have voters cards, what now?
Yeah, what now?
What now?
Yeah,
What
like
now?
today, what are you guys doing?
What
if
are
you
you
don't
doing
have a
if you're
voter's
not
card right now?
voting? Yeah,
Steph,
but
I'm gonna before we move on to our next respondent. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the government is investing money in sports equally, or would you want to see more money invested in different other sports where you feel like they're being neglected?
yes, definitely.
Ooh.
Yes, definitely. I'm a volleyball player.
Okay.
So I would definitely love to see more money towards volleyball because, again, like you're saying, there's certain sports that are prioritized.
Yes.
Because let's face it, they do pull the numbers.
Yes, they do pull the numbers.
They do pull the numbers. So yes, it's understandable why more money would go there. But then let's also trickle some money into the other sports. For example, volleyball. I would love to see, you know, like it's only this year I realized there was actually a volleyball cup.
Only this year.
Only this year I
The
realized.
Bantu
Yes.
Cup, okay.
Only this year. Because if I had known, I would have started playing volleyball a long time ago. Because the whole reason I, again, didn't go into it, I was like, but there's no money in it.
There's no money in this. What it's just going to be a waste of your time.
It's just going to be a waste of my time.
8 to 5, and then from 5 you need to go play, and then play for nothing.
And
again.
I still have to be a mom and all of that. You see now. So I think definitely all these other sports, even sports like tennis.
Yes.
Sports like tennis, because again, growing up I played hockey, tennis, volleyball, and I did swimming as well.
A lot of sports.
It was a lot of sport. It was, my school prioritized sport. But again, even tennis, I'd love to play tennis. Yes, I get we have paddle courts, but I mean tennis.
The actual tennis,
The
yes.
actual tennis. I would love to play tennis. I'd love to be recognized, you know, as Diana is the second seed in Namibia, things like that.
And you know, like, the small sports we're speaking about now, not necessarily small, but the sports like tennis, sports like, let's look at Special Olympics, those things. Those are teams or sports that get neglected or not given that much attention, like the rugby, the soccer, and all of that. But if you look at performance-wise,
yes.
And if we talk about gold medals, if we talk about trophies,
yes.
all those small sports that are being neglected, start with hockey, they are the ones that come back with the major trophies. Look at Special Olympics, they won a gold medal, I think, last year at the Olympic Games, Special Olympic Games in the USA.
Yes.
I think they got a gold medal there. So you look at and yet we still neglect the small sports and not give them love. I was so hurt, or let me say hurt. I was bothered by the fact that Lahia Isitile came back with a gold medal. But remember when Christine Boma,
yes,
when Christine Boma,
even when she was running, everybody was tuned in. Everybody was tuned in because we all wanted to see.
Yes.
But then when it comes to all these other sports, it's like, oh, okay, cool,
you gotta go,
well done,
good to know.
and then they move on.
Corporates, everyone was showing love.
Yes.
These people got houses, they got cars.
Yes.
They were given love. But after Lahia Isitile came back,
what happened?
What happened? Because I think I had a conversation with her at the Sports Awards, and then she also mentioned something like, you know, the love. You don't feel loved. You don't feel like your country loves you. It does, because why are you guys showing love to this person and everyone knows about it?
Yes.
And then
me?
with us, it's just.
It's
I mean,
like,
I got a
okay.
gold medal. It's
yes.
not.
I got a gold
it's
medal.
Gold, you know?
Yeah, but then again, it goes back to what you were saying, that yes, that also plays on your psyche. It plays on your psyche because, again, I cannot perform to my best ability because then again, I'm not even going to be reciprocated the same energy that the others are getting. But let's cross on over to Irongo region to speak to Frida Moloto. She is covering Irongo and Kunene regions.
Good morning. My name is Herman Hosabeng Honep, senior resident of Hendy's Bay. And I'm here at Mwandi Combined School polling station. I've been observing throughout all the polling stations, and I'm quite impressed. First and foremost, the weather condition is quite encouraging, unlike Hendy's Bay, a little sunny, although a chilly wind, and therefore everyone is so encouraged to come to the polling stations. Very calm atmosphere. All the polling stations where I visited, Akonja, community hall, which is still awaiting the officials, the presiding officials, the Philadelphia, the Hendyspire Community Hall. Everywhere that I visited, people are very calm and excited about this election. So far, we haven't experienced any problems, and we are hoping that today would be one of the most historical days in Namibia, where everybody feels free to make a choice towards their leadership. I myself, I'm also a polling station agent. I will be involved in the counting, representing my political party, and I will make sure that everything goes well. I will be voting myself and proudly to make sure that we have the rightful president elected through a democratic process like this one. Thank you very much.
Freedom Lotto giving us updates there. As you said, Brian, these correspondents are working hard today, and it can't be easy in this Namibian heat and this Namibian sun.
I'm so happy I'm not a correspondent.
You're in the aircon. Look at you.
As we are, there's no sweatpants, but we are very grateful for our team.
We are grateful for our team, and of course, this is all to bring you live coverage and in-depth analysis regarding hashtag Namibia Decides 2024. Again, as we mentioned earlier, we have correspondents all over to be giving us feed and to be giving us live coverage as it happens. If anything happens, we'll be the first to update you. Now let's cross on over to the Oshatanjupa region with Enzo Amuele.
Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Roger Kashivikwa, the principal of the secondary school of Kakarara. I've just casted my vote, and I would like to encourage the young people and older and middle-aged people to come and vote or cast their vote so that they can decide who their next leader will be. It's a good thing to be voting because you have an influence. Even that one vote, especially the young unemployed people who are saying they're not going to vote, others will vote for them, and they will decide who will become the next president or the next the people who will be in the cabinet and who will make decisions for them. So even if you're unemployed, please just come and vote and choose who you want to lead the country. Have done.
That was Enzo Amuele. Well, not him speaking. That was the principal of Kakarara Secondary School, but that video is courtesy of Enzo Amuele.
I think he looks very familiar. He looks like he's I've seen him in Grootfontein.
Okay.
Because Oshatanjupa is now where you find him.
Yes, yeah, so that's where you're at.
Yeah, I think I've seen him somewhere in Grootfontein. I just can't put my head as to where yet. But
as to where exactly.
Maybe we'll get back to that.
But again, even, principals, I think this is also just proof that with kids, because it's monkey see, monkey do. If we see even our principals voting, now you can't wait for the next election because, like, I also want to vote.
It brings a lot of excitement.
It brings a lot of excitement.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dana. It's really good to see that the teachers at the schools and the principal himself is also in the queue, ready to vote. It's wonderful for the elections this year. I like to see it.
Yes. All right. Now, Michaela Hansen giving us live coverage from the Khomas region. Okay, we'll be waiting for Michaela. Michaela will show up just now.
They try to bring in other people. They must take a serious order about it. We cannot be standing in queues. They try to bring in other people while you guys are waiting. Bringing in other people while people are standing in the queue. So it's very much unacceptable and disrespectful to everyone else that is standing in the queue. So tell your people inside there, the officials or whoever is there, to keep a proper order so that everyone can vote peacefully. Yes, sir. How long has been waiting in this line? This is like 2 hours now. 2 hours? Yes, since I came here. Or 3 basically. 3.
Michaela Hansen giving us feed there from a disgruntled voter. He definitely seems unhappy.
I think it should be because of the queues, maybe.
Probably. Apparently people are jumping over the queues. So he's unhappy about that.
It could be a problem at a few of the polling stations. Look at the one here by Nampost in Eros. I think I went to grab like a Coke and the queue.
The queue, but you see, the thing is, a lot of people, yes, they did say that they're going to be making provisions for the elderly, for nursing mothers and pregnant women. But then again, if you're there with like your small bump, I'm not going to believe you. I'll be like, no, you're just looking for a way to jump the queue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, look, I think I read it on one of our groups earlier during the course of the day is the lines are moving approximately a meter every 5 minutes.
Jeez.
A meter every 5 minutes.
Okay.
Do you know how little a meter is to wait for 5 minutes for just a meter? So that could be an issue.
With the sun
in
your face and it's burning you.
Yeah, so I understand why we'll hear some unhappy people or unhappy voters.
But then again, I think then something needs to be done to control that, to ensure that people are not jumping over queues unnecessarily. Because this discourages people, Brian.
It does. It really does.
Because if I've been in the queue since 8 and then now it's 1 and I've barely moved, I can guarantee you, I know I will get a lot of heat for this, but in all honesty, I'd probably go home.
It's come the heat.
Yes.
I'm also going to be with you taking that hit because it's true.
Yes.
You don't want to stand in a queue, and although you want to vote for hours and hours and stand in the sun, nah.
In the sun.
Either they look at that for next time now, for example. Better conditions at voting centers. Don't make people stand in the sun. Even if you have to put up tents and then seats, have people sit down, have numbers or something, and then call the number or something like that, instead of having people sit in a long queue. Provide tents, provide shade.
And what if this jumping of queues is basically Diana and Brian went to vote together, and then Brian quickly went to go buy us Coke, and then now when Brian comes back, you see now it could be a thing of exactly.
Why are you jumping the queue?
Exactly, you see now. So it could be a thing of that, of like just people holding up each other's spots. All right, so now Nankali is giving us again feed from the Commerce region.
Yes, my name is Sergeant Chivute. I'm working as an officer at Women's Center A. Yeah, so far the process is going smoothly. We came last night, collecting the materials from the government garage. We took a bit longer because of some materials, and we have to pass by Eastlands and pick up the tape. So we came at the center, let me say around about 12. So from that time we started picking up, preparing for the day. As we started today, we woke up. Yesterday when we came 12 o'clock, we already found people. They already came like 7 o'clock in the afternoon. They overslept here, fully blankets. So it's really going smoothly, and people are coping.
Everybody is putting in the work. That was a police officer who is at the Tobias Hanyeko constituency, just explaining how they were there the whole night, literally the whole night, preparing the venue.
So instead of us maybe complaining about the shade, we need to maybe also give these people their credit.
No, we have to run them their flowers because they're working hard. I think everybody is working hard to ensure as smooth as possible. You know, that it runs as smoothly as possible. Obviously, it's not going to be 100% perfect.
Yes.
There will be glitches. It's just how life is. Yeah. But anyway, I think it's been fantastic.
It's been lovely.
It's been lovely bringing you coverage. This is not us saying goodbye.
No, not at all.
No,
you and I are going to be sitting back here, I think, at 5.
Yes, you and I. But then Election Watch will be back again at 2 as hashtag Namibia Decides 2024. We will be giving you live coverage. Again, 0857856231 is the number that you want to save if you want any updates regarding elections. For now, here is Klitz Kompass.